Chapter 323. What kind of place is the command center? Tang Tian recovered from the shock. Rumble rumble. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly darkened. In front of him was a mound of soil. Suddenly something broke out of its cocoon. With an astonishing speed, it rose up with a rumbling sound. Countless of soil slid down from its sides, causing a cloud of dust to fill the sky. That's right, you inherited the army. Of course, I have not clarified it, but I think it should be related to your background. Bing walked and comforted Tang Tian. Don't think too much, there will be a day when things will be clarified. Star spirit beasts also have a saint domain? Tang Tian was shocked. His palms lit up with rays of light. Ka ka ka. Behind the door came the sound of a mechanism turning. The extremely heavy bronze door slowly opened. 30,000 people? Tang Tian muttered. His mind could not help but surface the scene of countless figures shuttling back and forth in the bronze forest. The scene of prosperity. Bing came to the most central table. Tang Tian listened with interest. The Southern Cross Army seemed to have many weird fellows. Suicide room? Tang Tian quivered. Hey, I have never thought of suicide. This army was closed by us, so it was preserved better. The command area is the core area of the army, and will use the best materials and the best mechanical techniques. But the mechanical techniques at that time were not good enough and could not be like the military equipment. Bronze buildings as tall as 50 m could be seen everywhere. Tang Tian had never seen such a majestic building before. Even if all the windows of the buildings were empty, even if there was dust everywhere, even if there were many patterns that had been eroded by time. Only I have the authority? Tang Tian did not understand. Rows of mechanisms and buttons appeared in front of the two of them. The number was so many that Tang Tian felt dizzy looking at it. Bing was seen to quickly move the buttons of the mechanisms, his mouth muttering. Bing snorted. You better pray that you never meet it, if not, with your strength, you will be squashed like an ant. Tang Tian listened quietly. In the middle of the flat bronze table, the Southern Cross was engraved, and Bing placed his palm inside the Southern Cross. The war was terrible at that time and the quality of the fortifications here is quite good. Of course, it couldn't be compared to what happened later. Later on, our mechanical skills were unparalleled and we were rich. For example, 3 Spirit Cities underground military equipment depot. They did not hesitate to pay a heavy price. The facilities here are a lot older and the mechanical techniques are a lot more behind, but for us now it's enough. The twisted bronze tracks crisscrossed in the air. Bronze remains could be seen everywhere. They were rusted and some even had moss growing on them. Peanuts were so fun. Tang Tian was dumbstruck as he watched the bronze pagoda rise layer by layer. It rose from the ground like an incomparably huge bronze snake breaking out of the earth. The shadow cast by the bronze pagoda enveloped him. At this moment he felt so small. It must be spectacular. There used to be a shop on the 3rd floor. It was a relative of Ah Yun. When he opened the shop we all laughed at him. He was an idiot. Do you know what kind of shop he owns? Fluffy dolls. A bunch of men's barracks selling fluffy dolls, and it was so expensive. If he wasn't crazy, then what was? Everyone thought that he would definitely not be able to sell anything. Who knew his business was extremely good? Those with wives and daughters at home, every time they send something home they would definitely send one. No choice. Other than this doll shop, the rest of the army were all mechanical weapon shops and weapon shops. If they didn't send swords and blades, why not? If anyone's girlfriend came, they would definitely run there every day. If you don't have a temper, he would not give a discount, and in the end, every woman would definitely drag a huge pile back. Everyone scolded him, but in their hearts they didn't care. Usually they have nowhere to spend their money, and who knows, they might die on the battlefield. The ground had many mounds of mud, and if one were to look down from the sky, they would realize that the ground was like boiling water. In a short period of time, the ground had many big and small mounds of mud. Without waiting for him to react, Bing had already said, "Go. We are going to the suicide room." Bing did not feel anything. He was like an old woman talking endlessly. Tang Tian's heart was trembling along the way. Bing pressed something and in the next moment the air started to flow and immediately it was not so stuffy. Bing wanted to mock him, but he suddenly thought this brat's improvement was truly so fast that it was hard for people to refute. The dust was pushed up into the sky and the dust pervaded the air. Around him, tall and strangely shaped bronze structures were like bamboo shoots after the rain, rumbling loudly, fighting to be the first to break out of the ground. He took out a 7th-level star rock and stuffed it somewhere, and Tang Tian's vision immediately lit up. Why not? Bing's face was weird. There are tens of thousands of different races, but when placed in Heaven's Road, they are just a handful of water in the ocean. What can they count as? There are hundreds of millions of races of star spirit beasts. It is impossible to count them all, and the number of star spirit beasts that are blessed by the heavens are countless, and they are the favored children of heaven and earth. Even those with ordinary talents, but their lifespans are extremely long, and some can even live up to 10,000 years. Think about it, no matter how stupid a martial artist is, after training for 10,000 years, his strength will definitely be terrifying. What are wild beasts? So powerful? Tang Tian could not resist but to ask, although Bing liked to exaggerate at times, but he had always belittled his enemies and was actually so fearful of the wild beasts he was rather surprised. This cold and dilapidated bronze forest itself had the power to shake people's hearts. The road was not easy to walk on. All these bronze buildings broke out of the ground and brought out many wreckages. The road was full of potholes and everywhere was broken copper and iron. Tang Tian and Bing had no choice but to fly forward. What made Tang Tian the most anxious was that there were a few heavily tilted bronze buildings. He was worried that they would collapse at any time. If all these gigantic buildings collapsed, no matter how strong their bodies were, they would only be a pile of meat paste. Suddenly, a light aura lit up from the bottom of his palm. The bronze table seemed to be alive, and quickly squirmed in all directions, causing Tang Tian to jump in fright. Bing's expression was filled with sorrow. He was in a daze and calmed himself down. Let's go, we will go to the command area to see how many things can be used. 36 sentry posts, there are still 9 that can be used. Training area, oh, the strength room cannot be used, the speed room can barely be used. Let me see, the suicide room can be used. That's great. Tang Tian did not think much of it. Don't look down on me, I improve very quickly. This was a bronze forest. The strongest star spirit beast is roughly equivalent to our Saint Domain. Bing said without turning his head. There are very few now. Oh, maybe deep in Heaven's Road those unexplored places have them. In our era they were the true overlords. The two of them were extremely fast and suddenly Bing's eyes lit up. We're here. Alright, although this fellow likes peanuts and is slightly annoying, but his mechanical techniques are still rather reliable. Bing entered and touched the side of the door with extreme familiarity and said, "Oh, there are no more star rocks." Tang Tian was completely shocked. Bing's previous plan of 3 Spirit Cities mechanical weapon training camp in Tang Tian's eyes was already extremely ambitious, and the scale was astonishing. But compared to the bronze forest in front of him, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. Bing rushed to the front of the bronze door and said, "The one who designed this barracks was Peanut. Oh, his nickname is Peanut. I forgot his real name, the kind that would go crazy if he did not eat peanuts for a day. No matter what, he wanted to design the command area as a peanut." The officer of the army was so angry and sent him to the warehouse. In the end, from then on, the army's supply of all sorts of peanuts were all eaten up by this asshole. After that, the higher-ups wanted to transfer him back to being a mechanical engineer, but he refused no matter what. It was truly unbearable. Peanut. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. The bronze structure in front of him was shaped like a flat big peanut. The grains were plump, and even the potholes on the outside of the structure resembled it. Bing explained, "The army is split into many areas, for example the sentry area, which is mainly at the periphery. Another example is the training area, which you will probably use the most in the future, and is used for the training of the soldiers. The command area is the core area of the entire army, and only you have the authority to open it. In our era we fought every day." Oh, this saying is slightly exaggerated, but fighting every year is not wrong. Every 3 to 5 years, there would definitely be a big battle, and the small battles would be as many as the hairs on a cow, and we ourselves could not remember them all. In that era the atmosphere was much more ferocious than now. There were also much more star spirit beasts than now, and the ancient star spirit beasts were very terrifying. If you were unlucky and met a desolate beast, the entire army would be annihilated in the blink of an eye. I am really curious about those powerful star spirit beasts. Tang Tian's thoughts wandered. Yaya, who was in Tang Tian's embrace, opened his mouth wide, his face sluggish as he looked at the majestic bronze structures above his head. Bing was extremely excited. It is very spectacular, right? 07 Army Barracks is a standard square with a length and width of 10 kilometers. Bing's voice was filled with emotions. He raised his head to look at the tall bronze structures, his voice slightly erratic. This pagoda used to be a lighthouse. It is 412 m tall and is the tallest structure in the army. It is used to guide the direction of the mechanical weapons. The barracks is at a cliff, and if you are not careful you will lose your life if you fall. When 07 Army Barracks was at its peak, there were 70,000 people stationed there. Oh, in that battle this was the counterattack point, and the majority of the army's strength was concentrated here to prepare for the counterattack. Usually there would be about 30,000 people. Bronze forest. That was a bronze pagoda. So tall. But in Tang Tian's eyes, every strange-looking bronze structure was a majestic cold bronze beast. They squatted there without saying a word, telling of their past glory. Every single bronze building here was majestic and majestic. What entered his vision were many bronze tables and chairs. Other than that there was nothing else. What surprised Tang Tian the most was, other than the air being a little chaotic, it was actually maintained in a rather complete state. Other than some rust stains, most of it was maintained perfectly. "Come over, place your palm on it," Bing said. But just the astonishing size was enough to make Tang Tian feel reverence. Bing shook his head. "Talking to this fellow is the most annoying from far away. The smell of peanuts will rush into your nose." Tang Tian complied and placed his palm on a flat board beside the bronze door. Chapter 324. Yi Jiao's face turned green. Although Ho Yi Tian was over 40 years old, but she looked like she was 20 years old. She was dressed solemnly and had a beautiful appearance. What left the deepest impression was her tall and slender phoenix eyes. Her red painted nails gently lifted the teacup and slowly took a sip. Elders was stood up in satisfaction. "Very good, I have something to do, I will leave first." So it was like that. Tang Tian was enlightened. He thought for a while. "I remember when the cross door was just opened, I met a gray man that looked exactly like me. My first killing technique was enlightened from it." Just at this time a subordinate came to report with an ugly face. They raised the price again. "Honorable Martial Alliance." Xiao Duo respectfully reported. Elders was said, "Do as she says." The majestic sacred mountain, the entire peak was leveled and the meteor shower stage was built on top. There were 9,999 steps made of polished white jade. As one ascended the steps, the view before them suddenly widened. The sacred mountain was extremely high and the surroundings were covered in pure white snow, but the meteor shower stage was like spring all year round with flowers blooming. "Only he is worthy to be his enemy." Those were his words. Bing's mouth twitched. Crazy people are different from ordinary people, don't learn from him. Jing Hao was not able to enter the top 10. Bing's expression was solemn. Yi Xiaogu is ranked 6th out of the 10. You can imagine how strong he is. If you miss this battle, Ling Su will die, Crane will die, Amauri will die, Han Bingning will die, Liangqia will die, Sima Xiangshan will die, Huama Air will die, the entire Lupus tribe will be flattened, no one will survive, everyone will die. No one can stop Yi Xiaogu. Once the Honorable Martial Alliance sends out Yi Xiaogu, it will be their attitude. Yi Xiaogu is cold and emotionless, he is the coldest sword in the Honorable Martial Alliance. What do the higher-ups mean? Yi Jiao asked carefully. To be able to reach this step is already very inspiring. I'm so lucky to be able to meet everyone. It was such a blessing to be able to fight alongside everyone. Even if I were to restart my life, I would feel that it was a great pity if I couldn't meet her again. I was reckless and stupid, but everyone was still helping me. Everyone was fighting for me. How could I give up at this time? Their affection for me is worth more than my own life. I don't know much, but I know that I may die in battle, but I will die with my head held high. Running away at this time will only make me live in regret and guilt for the rest of my life. How terrifying. The subordinate was stunned for a moment, but seeing Elder Ye's ashen face, he hurriedly agreed. The falling star platform was located at the highest peak of the Sagittarius constellation, the Saint Mountain. Yes, this is the only way I can think of. Bing nodded. But if you die, I will also dissipate. In fact, from a strategic point of view, you should retreat at this time. Ho Yitian nodded. When one's realm increases, one's mental state will naturally be different. The Crane sect's martial techniques originate from the east and still have some advantages. But, Yi Jiao said anxiously. Xiao Duo, who had always been worried for Crane, heaved a sigh of relief and immediately replied, "Yes, Elder Yu." Xiao Duo hesitated for a moment, then clenched his teeth and said, "They might not be willing." "No buts. Elders was squinted his eyes. I don't care how you take care of them after this, but for this matter, you must do it beautifully. I believe you know what is important. Agree to them. Yijio squeezed the words out of his mouth. The meteor shower platform had an area of roughly 600 square kilometers, and was filled with precious flowers and plants from various planets in Heaven's Road, as though it was a gigantic garden. Xiao Duo was slightly worried. Do we need to send people to protect young Master Crane? The one in charge this time is Yijio and his son is Yi Zhaoge. Many people have died here. Bing did not hide anything. To enter the suicide room, you need to report to the army. Many talented people have died inside. You have to think clearly. Once you enter, it will not be easy to come out. Bing, who was outside the door, was startled. A majestic back view appeared in front of him. It really looks like it. Tang Tian's expression slowly became solemn. Is Yi Zhaoge really that strong? As long as you are willing to hand it over. Elders heaved a sigh of relief. Keep an eye on this matter. Do not make any mistakes. No matter what the conditions are, agree to them. What is there to fear? What is there to fear? At least we still have a chance to fight. At least I am defending my beliefs. That is enough. Elders interrupted him. No buts. The friction between us and Leo constellation is continuously increasing. If there is another Sagittarius constellation, we will definitely lose. At this critical juncture, do not create any more problems. What does Tang Tian think? He is stronger than you think. Bing said. Hui Tian placed his teacup down and said indifferently. Tell him, other than Yi Zhaoge, no one else from the Honorable Martial Alliance is allowed to step into Lupus constellation. Hui Tian waved his hand and said coldly. Let that brat suffer a bit. If he does not suffer, he will think that his crane sex things are invincible. My sister was dragged down by a stupid man, and is so stubborn to give birth to a son. Humph. That sounds interesting. Tang Tian was eager to try. This servant feels that young Master Crane has changed a lot, as though he has become more gentle. He even greeted this servant and his attitude was very amiable. He asked this servant where Wu Taiyu was, and for some reason when young Master Crane's eyes swept past, this servant did not dare to have any rebellious thoughts. Amidst the flowers, a palace could be faintly seen. He pushed open the door and walked in without looking back. This was probably because the current empress was a female. Out of the 12 palaces, Sagittarius constellation's palace was especially beautiful. With intricate carvings that could be seen everywhere, it was extremely beautiful. The current Empress Hui Tian, although she had a tyrannical name, but as a female she was very picky about aesthetics, so she personally presided over the construction of the palace. Hui Tian was very clear of Xiao Duo's thoughts and was not angry. Relax, although they are the strongest, but they are in a mess with that crazy lion. If they offend me again, I do not mind exterminating them together with the crazy lion. But I feel that what he said is very reasonable. Tang Tian said with a matter-of-fact face. With that he did not care about Yijio and swaggered off. This world is cruel and merciless. There are many people who lose their lives every day. I do not care about others, but the reason why Tang Tian is because I am such a person. But Yijio felt extremely sullen. The creator of the suicide room, its master commander. There was a period of time where he was restricted by a bottleneck and he spent his entire day thinking about how to break through the bottleneck. Thus he created the suicide room. Commander is an arrogant and conceited lunatic. He racked his brains and finally understood. His biggest enemy is himself. Yijio's face congealed. He held real power in the Honorable Martial Alliance. Because he was Yi Zhaoji's father, everyone felt that his future was bright. But the left clan elder in front of him, he did not dare to be disrespectful. Tang Tian raised his head. His eyes were like a ball of fire, emitting light and heat. Seeing that the palace master's face was as cold as ice, it was obvious that he was angry. Xiao Duo immediately kept quiet out of fear and did not dare to speak anymore. Tang Tian said unhappily, Hey uncle, you were the one who brought me here. Tang Tian lowered his head and looked at his own palms and muttered to himself. I knew it. Bing muttered softly. He shook his head and said, So he created the suicide room. The so-called suicide room, it can perfectly project you as your enemy and you have to kill him to be able to walk out. Kill yourself, so commander called it the suicide room. But Yi Zhaoge. Yijio was in a bad mood. They said they are willing to pay, but the price is very high. The fearless Tang Tian's heart was beating like a drum. Bing looked at Tang Tian and was silent. After a while he spoke. In a month's time, we need to spend 12 days to travel back and forth. That also means you only have 18 days. If in 18 days you are unable to defeat yourself, then you will miss this battle. Belle had already heard that the person in charge of the Honorable Martial Alliance was Yi Zhaoji's son. The 10 most famous youths in the Honorable Martial Alliance were known as the 10 Gentlemen. These 10 people's strengths were unfathomable, and were the true geniuses nurtured by the Honorable Martial Alliance. What do you think of Jing Hao's strength? That's right, but that is too simple. Bing nodded his head, his expression solemn. The suicide room is far more complete than that. Your projection will be exactly the same as you. He will have all of your wisdom, including your willpower, your tenacity, your comprehension. The only possibility for you to kill him is that in these few days, you have improved even more than him. Yi Jiu endured the grievance in his heart and squeezed out a word from his teeth. Yes. The sound of the teacup shattering came out from behind him. He quivered and increased his speed by a few notches. Bang. Retreat? Tang Tian was relatively calm. He looked at Bing. Retreat to where? Wuan Star. Give up everyone like a stray dog and wander around the stars to escape? Or hand over the sword? What's the point of living like that? Although his tone was indifferent, Xiao Duo could hear the joy in his voice, and she was happy. Although she did not know what happened in the past, but after so many years, young Master Crane's relationship with them had always been stiff. Now that young Master Crane seemed to have thought it through, that was great. Suicide room, just this name, caused Tang Tian's hair to stand. In his mind, a pitch-black and gloomy room with ropes hanging from it, a rusty table with all sorts of sharp weapons, all of them stained with fresh blood. Big brother Jing Hao is very strong. Tang Tian said without hesitation. His current strength was getting deeper and deeper, and he understood how strong big brother Jing Hao was. Tang Tian raised his head and looked at the bronze door in front of him. There were no patterns on the door, only a row of shocking words written in blood. Kill him. No need. Ho Yi Tian did not even raise his eyelids. A person who possesses the Saint Sword Ocean Prison is not that simple. But the Honorable Martial Alliance needs to give him a warning. Humph, to dare be so arrogant after offending that lion. Who is the person in charge of the Honorable Martial Alliance here? Chapter 325. Perspiration flowed down Tang Tian's cheeks. His breathing was as heavy as a bull's. He finally understood how painful it was to fight with himself. What he knew, the opponent had it all. Even in the past few days he had improved, but the opponent was also improving. Bing thought about it. He did not know if his decision was right or wrong. Thinking about how if Tang Tian died in the suicide room he would also dissipate, this could be considered as betting on himself. Bing laughed at himself. He threw this thought to the side. He felt that he was not wrong. Tang Tian's potential was much bigger than what he thought. Sima Xianxia extended his hand to touch the blood stains. The fingers that were stained with blood, his tongue lightly licked. This made his face look demonic and sinister. Suddenly, a thread of undetectable undulation was produced at the back of his neck. To argue with the Honorable Martial Group today. Life is really a tragedy. Huh. Jing Hao laughed. The gloomy feelings between his brows were swept away. He was heroic. Junior sister, don't worry. Your senior brother is no longer the Jing Hao of the past. He had imagined that he would fall into a bitter battle, but he did not expect that the battle would actually be so difficult. In the darkness, Sima Xiangxian's entire body was covered with cuts and bruises. Fresh blood dyed his clothes, but he did not care, his eyes vigilantly feeling for the slightest movement around him. After a while he struggled to climb out from the torrent. The cost of this death special training was rather shocking. The star treasures used were all bought at a high price. The intense and concentrated sounds of sparks exploding could be heard. The two silhouettes separated upon contact and once again fiercely collided. Amauri did not make a sound. His face was contorted in pain, but he forcefully endured it. But in the end he could not endure it, groaned and fainted. All sorts of wooden blocks, iron hammers, grinding beds continued to destroy his body. What made Tang Tian even more afraid was that the opposite Tang Tian was also desperately trying to activate the red eye. How can I win? Ling Su was slightly shaken. Bang bang bang. Xin Mingqi was a little worried. Senior brother, you have to be careful. 6 hours later, Amauri slowly woke up. His body was intact. Jing Hao looked at his junior sister's slender shoulders, her face full of sincerity and concern. He was a little dazed. How troublesome. Tang Tian stopped thinking and clenched his teeth. He had to muster 120% of his spirit and use all his strength in order to resist the fierce attacks of Tang Tian. What to do? Another type of battle. Bing said calmly, you can swallow martial spirits and you will become a spirit military leader like Tang Yi. But you will inherit some of your own characteristics such as your knife skills, if your will is strong enough. Of course, there was also the possibility of failure. In that case, there would be nothing left. You can think about it. Senior brother, why are you apologizing? Exen Mingqi smiled and said, there are always so many helpless things. Senior brother, doing what you want to do is the most important. I believe in senior brother. To be able to gain senior brother's favor, I'm afraid his character is also very strong. Senior brother, are you being prepared? That was Maori's last thought before he fainted again. I know. Jing Hao did not even raise his head. Inside the suicide room was a boundless empty space. He brought the majority of the blueprints of the 07 army barracks. He wanted to let Sai Lei see which ones could be repaired. He did not want to wait for the results. With the 07 army barracks he could do many more things. He was a military leader who survived the chaotic war. This difficulty was not enough to shake him. Bang! Is this the real pointed C spears? Could it be that the pointed C spears that teacher taught me was wrong? Both parties were extremely familiar with each other. Bing did not try to persuade him anymore. He nodded. All right, wait for me to come back. I'll prepare for your matters. Exen Mingqi chuckled. Senior brother, when you lie, your tone will be very unnatural. She then said gently, no matter what senior brother does, Mingqi will support you. In Mingqi's heart, senior brother is the most upright person in the world. Senior brother. Exen Mingqi called out softly. She advised, don't blame master. Yi Jiao and master had enmity in the past. Now that his position is higher than master's, he purposely pressured master and master could not do anything about it. Master is also regretting it now. Is senior brother planning to go to Lupus Constellation? Exen Mingqi asked. When his silhouette disappeared, the frozen young girl suddenly burst into tears. He gently hugged her and released her. Suppressing the emotions in his heart, he laughed, I'm leaving. When everything quietened down, Maori had already lost consciousness. His badly mutilated body started to glow with a yellow light aura. His flesh and blood started to grow strangely. Senior brother, you can do it. Exen Mingqi raised her fist. Her face had an encouraging smile. If senior brother meets with trouble one day, don't forget about your little traitor. I am senior brother's little traitor. His personality was the same as Tang Tian's. Tenacious and unyielding. Tireless. He liked to take the initiative to attack. He liked to fight with his life on the line. It is not that easy to take my life. Tang Tian felt gloomy. He tried to activate his red eye, but it seemed to have no effect. No matter how hard he tried, it was never like the last time. Both parties were constantly finding the other party's weak points. They were constantly reducing their own weak points. Personally experiencing it was a completely different feeling. The young lady in his embrace was stiff. The fragrance and warmth of the young lady made Jing Hao feel an indescribable sadness in his heart. Junior sister also knew that it would be many years before they parted. Once he fought with Yi Zhaogu, he would undoubtedly fall out with the honorable martial group. Sima Xianxian's eyes were as cold as a snake's. Sigh. Jing Hao shook his head. I understand brother Tang. He will definitely not hand over the safe and sound saber. The other four are on good terms with him. I am afraid they will also fall out with the honorable martial group. Fighting with Yi Zhaogu is unavoidable. This master is in the wrong. He is my master, so I naturally cannot blame him. But since it is master's fault as his disciple, I cannot shirk the responsibility. Feng Chou subconsciously replied, of course I do. A hair-thin blood stain appeared on his face, and a drop of blood gushed out from it. Bing returned to the recruit barracks. Once he was activated, he would be in danger. Without waiting for him to think, the opponent brazenly pounced over. He glanced at Feng Chou, who was floating in the air. After thinking for a while, he stopped in his tracks. Feng Chou, do you still want to fight? Jing Hao was touched. He raised his head and looked at the graceful and gentle junior sister. An indescribable feeling welled up in his heart. The words that were about to come out of his mouth became, "Junior sister, I am sorry. Junior sister, take care." Ling Su's pointed sea spear in front of the opponent's torrential spear aura was completely unable to be displayed. He resolutely walked away. Jing Hao packed his luggage. Jing Hao packed and said, "I will go persuade Tang Tian to hand over the safe and sound saber." After a bitter smile, he struggled to get up and started to meditate. "All right." Feng Chou replied. "No need to think about it." Feng Chou shook his head. "Only battles are meaningful to me." Liang Qiu, who was in the torrent, both of his hands were dragging the steel balls, but he was unbelievably nimble, like hugging or entangling, like slapping or flicking. The steel balls that came along with the flow were all struck away by him. His face gradually became serious. The speed of the water flow continued to increase, and the pressure on him was obviously increasing. Exen Mengqi was stunned, her entire body was stiff and did not listen to her. The scene that she had imagined so many times actually appeared, but her mind was blank. On the 5th day, both parties finally stopped. Without Tang Tian in the recruit barracks, it was somewhat cold. "That brat, I wonder how he is. Damn it. Could it be?" Exen Mengqi's eyes lit up, unable to conceal her joy. The exact same fire scythe ghost claw, the exact same flames, like two fire dragons bearing their fangs and brandishing their claws, fiercely clashed together. Without thinking, Sima Xianxian's body bent strangely. His upper body was like a twisting spring, dodging to the side. It was a tragedy worse than death. Ling Su retreated step by step, the silver frost mount martial artist in front of him. His spear power was extremely heavy, each spear faster than the last. All of them were spear techniques that appeared in his dreams. It was obviously familiar, it was obviously just a slight difference, but why was the power so astonishing? He suddenly took a step forward, opened his arms and hugged his junior sister. A fish that slipped through the net struck his left shoulder, causing his left arm to become numb. Groaning, his defense immediately crumbled. "Yes, I finally mastered it." Jing Hao was filled with emotions. "Yi Zhaogu can be my first opponent, I am looking forward to it." His and the projection's power were completely exhausted. For 5 days and 5 nights, both parties did not stop to rest. Both parties used everything they had to fight. When their true power was used up, they would use brute force. No one was willing to retreat half a step. In the end, they were like street thugs fighting. In the future, I must definitely pull Fundamental Tang over to enjoy this once. "You better seriously consider it," Bing advised. It was obviously just a slight difference, but for the first time, it made him feel like he did not know where to start. He was like a pile of mud lying at the side of the water, blood still dripping from the corner of his mouth, his entire body covered in bruises. Without any strength, he laughed bitterly in his heart. "I really want to sleep like this." Tang Tian gasped for breath, trying his best to think of a way. In the 3 days of fighting, Tang Tian did not gain any advantage. "I will definitely not give up." Flesh and blood splattered, the pain seeped into his bones. A Maori groaned, his face turning white. He forcefully blocked it. He calmly raced his own methods. The sound of the wood colliding with the wind sounded out again. His face changed. A new round was about to begin. In the ice room, it was like an extreme place, extremely cold. Han Bingning, who was sitting cross-legged, was already covered with frost, like an ice sculpture. Her heartbeat was extremely slow, as though it was not there. Tang Tian gasped for breath. In front of him, the person who looked exactly like him was also gasping for breath. Tang Tian's fire scythe ghost claw had much fewer flaws than before. The opposite, Tang Tian, also had the king peacock eyes. Any small flaws would immediately be found. "No need to consider." Feng Chou shook his head and said resolutely, "I am willing. As long as I can fight, I have no other extravagant requests." He suddenly reacted, suddenly opened his eyes wide and asked in disbelief, "You can let me continue to fight?" Chapter 326. Bing did not reply directly and only said, "You will know when you see it. I will go and find the Mo family patriarch." Mo Wei Tian said indifferently, "The world is in chaos. The Mo family at least needs some methods to protect themselves." Although Tang Tian and the rest were very strong, an army and a saint sword, but at Yi Jiu's level it was just that. The martial artists of Lupus constellation could not understand how strong the martial artists of the stronger constellations were. As for the army, in Yi Jiu's eyes, it was a joke. Could it be that Tang Tian and the rest were really planning to betray the Honorable Martial Alliance? Mo family patriarch. I do not dare to teach, but I do have some ideas. Bing said something shocking. The Mo family does not have military leaders, but we do. If you are really that stupid, then I will let you experience the power of a real army. Although it was painful to spend 600 million, but you get what you pay for. His expression did not change and laughed. Master Bing, long time no see, I wonder if young Master Tang is here? Yes, I am fully in charge. Bing replied straightforwardly. Master Bing really said that? Mo Wei Tian was startled but was ecstatic. There is some progress. Bing said ambiguously. Is it blind cord old man? Mo Wei Tian was shocked. Out of Mo Wei Tian's expectations, Bing replied straightforwardly. No. I do not have any thoughts of leading an army at the moment. Tang Yi will lead the Lupus army. Bing did not tell Sai Lei about the special death training. If Sai Lei knew that he had allowed Tang Tian to enter the special death training, he would definitely not hesitate to pick up the bronze hammer by his feet and smash him into a meat patty. Mo Wei Tian was both happy and shocked. He was happy that the Mo family finally had their own strong martial artist. He was shocked that Tang Tian still had a hidden strength. He thought about Ziyu and Wu Wei's words the night before. The negotiations with Tang Tian are not progressing smoothly. We need to make preparations for something else. Yi Jiu said. Unless Master Bing intends to personally lead the army? Mo Wei Tian asked curiously. But what if Tang Tian really did not intend to hand it over? He subconsciously denied this possibility. Betraying the Honorable Martial Alliance meant that he would be hunted down by the Honorable Martial Alliance. Tang Tian was not that stupid. He was willing to throw away his life for a sword? He is in closed-door training. Bing's voice came out from Sky Tiger. Yi Zhaoji's voice was low and hoarse, but it had a terrifying might to it. He casually sat cross-legged, a broken sword full of scars placed beside his legs. He looked relaxed, but he was like a crouching tiger, ready to pounce at any moment. He had gone to Sai Lei's laboratory to take a look at Sai Lei's newly designed mechanical spirit weapons. The performance of those few mechanical spirit weapons were much weaker than the Fire Blade and Fearless Ice, but the price-to-performance ratio was much higher than the Ink Snow that he had sold. He knew that Sai Lei had prepared this for the Mo family. Mo Wei Tian was old and experienced. Naturally, he could hear the hidden meaning in Bing's words and said, Master Bing, please enlighten me. I'm going to Lupus Constellation. Sai Lei heaved a sigh of relief. That's good. Oh right, Mo Wei Tian has been waiting for you for a few days. Although Bing's words were vague, but Mo Wei Tian was completely stunned in place. Countless powerhouses had star coins, but were unable to form an army. Fatty Li was like that, so was the Mo family. Yi Jiu sneered. Yi Jiu looked at his proud son in front of him. The sharp aura that was rushing towards him was like a sharp sword to his eyebrows. Jinghao trained to a unique level. Yi Jiu's face changed. He was on guard. He was being held back by Tang Tian and the rest, and he did not even know that Jinghao had trained to a unique level. He was vexed. If I had known, I would have gotten rid of Jinghao that year. That is truly raising a tiger to cause trouble. Only Zhao Gu was allowed to enter Lupus Constellation? Yi Jiu thought for a moment, then his eyes suddenly lit up. Since the Honorable Martial Alliance could not enter Lupus Constellation, then he would find someone else. He could no longer guess what level Sai Lei's mechanical techniques had reached. Bing was surprised. I thought he would only come after the battle. What is this? Sai Lei took the blueprint in a flurry and asked curiously. Mo Wei Tian had been standing outside every day watching the mechanical martial artist training. Most of the time his gaze was on Mo Ziyu and Mo Wu Wei. He could not help but nod his head, although his own strength was average. But after all he had fought with mechanical weapons for so many years, he could see that the two of them had improved greatly. It could be said that they had been reborn. I'll go see him. Bing threw the blueprint to Sai Lei. Help me take a look and see what can be fixed. Yi Jiu finally realized he needed to make other preparations. 3 Spirit Cities base was already more or less completed. Although Tang Tian had dismantled many parts, but to Sai Lei, who had ample funds as long as he had money, everything else was not a problem. Maybe he is more optimistic about you guys. Sai Lei did not care. He could not help but relax and laughed. Could it be that you are worried about Jinghao? Jinghao and his kind, aren't they never in your eyes? It was hard to find a good general. That was not an exaggeration at all. Regardless of whether it was the southern sky's 42 constellations or the northern sky's 19 continents, military generals were all rare talents. Bing did not answer but asked, "Is Patriarch Mo thinking of building an army?" Ziyu and Wu Wei trained a lot during the day and did not have any time at all, and the master instructor was always strict. The two of them did not dare to be distracted during training. But at night they could do whatever they wanted. Mo Wei Tian and the two of them conversed and learned a lot of information. For example, the young and weak youths had improved so quickly that even the two of them felt pressured. All of these youths had outstanding talent in mechanical spirit weapons, and the master instructor had poured a lot of effort into them, and with the addition of the Blood Meridian specialist, the strength of the youths could be said to be improving by the day. Jing Hao went to Lupus Constellation. After a long time of wrangling, Yi Jiu finally lost confidence, and felt that Tang Tian and the rest did not have any sincerity. This caused him to be filled with worry. The reason why he had moved was to go against Jing Hao's master's branch. He was well aware of the importance of fighting between factions, and never think of defeating the opponent in one strike, but to grab hold of every opportunity and slowly weaken the opponent's strength. Yes. Pai Pa laughed. The two of them fought with Senior Blind Cord and it was a draw. He stood up and left after saying that. Tang Tian's ambition was not small. I have never looked down on Jing Hao. Yi Zhaogu did not avoid his father's gaze and spoke with a low and hoarse voice. He is naturally unswerving, upright and principled. That is the heart of a strong martial artist. Only a martial artist with the heart of a strong martial artist can become a strong martial artist, and I have always been waiting for him. Now that he has mastered a unique technique, he can fight with me and I am looking forward to it. Yi Jiu did not have time to stop him, and Yi Zhaoji's figure had already disappeared. Yi Jiu's face congealed. He suddenly realized the situation was becoming more and more disadvantageous to him. Mo Wei Tian heard and went straight to the point. I wonder what Master Bing thinks about the Mo family disciples entering the training camp? And in Tang Tian's hands, there was actually a third military general. Mo Wei Tian was startled, his gaze suddenly exploding. Don't tell me you have a third military general? Cetus Constellation's pressure was just an excuse for him to intervene, and he did not even put Cetus Constellation in his eyes. Every time Mo Wei Tian thought about it, he would have such a sigh. Such a gigantic bronze base. When he first saw it, he was completely stunned. With such a large investment, how could the goal be small? Not bad. Bing appeared very calm. Through the Mo family, she had hired a group of powerful but unknown mechanical engineers. The current Three Spirits City in the mechanical circle had a bit of fame. Everything in Three Spirits City was flourishing and full of life, orderly. Yi Zhaogu did not comment on his father's words. Mo Wei Tian turned his body, and what entered his vision was a blue mechanical spirit weapon. He acutely noticed, Sky Tiger had a few places that had obviously been modified. Seeing Bing, Sai Lei put down the work in his hands. For Bing to come at this time, it must be something important. How's the situation? In front of him, Yi Zhaoji's appearance was not outstanding. His hair was messy, like a bunch of steel wires tangled together. His beard was thick, his gaze as sharp as a sword. The corners of his face were extremely distinct, giving off a feeling of sharpness. That's right. Pai Pa nodded. Patriarch Mo is right. Bing's tone was in agreement, but his tone changed. But does the Mo family have a military general? Without a military general, there is no way to talk about an army. But Sagittarius Empress warning made him feel uneasy and did not dare to belittle it. Based on this speed, as long as Tang Tian had time, everything here would become a terrifying force. Mo Wei Tian nodded his head in understanding. Once the Ocean Prison Sacred Sword is out, the world will be shocked. Young Master Tang is currently in closed-door cultivation. His determination is definitely not something ordinary people like us can compare to. Before coming down, young Master Tang once said that Master Bing can take full control of the army. I wonder. He calmed down. Suddenly, a crazy idea popped up in his mind. Sai Lei had custom-made new mechanical spirit weapons for them, which were much more powerful than the Mo family's mechanical weapons. Pai Pa had time today, so she came to accompany Mo Wei Tian. Seeing Mo Wei Tian's gratified expression, she said, Ziyu and Wu Wei's strength far surpasses the rest. Ordinary mechanical spirit weapons are no longer suitable for the two of them. So Master Sai Lei specially made 2 sets of mechanical spirit weapons for them. Ziyu's is called Fire Blade. Wu Wei's is called Fearless Ice. Master Bing specially designed a corresponding battle strategy for them, and Master once said if they join hands, they can fight against the martial artists of the Heaven Road's 100 war zones. Time passed quietly. Yijio suddenly thought about Sagittarius Empress warning. The Honorable Martial Alliance only allowed Yi Zhaogu to enter Lupus constellation. Could it be that the Empress had already predicted that Tang Tian would not hand over the safe and sound sword? He did not believe that Tang Tian would make such a decision, so Tang Tian's continuous increase in price to him was just greed. Chapter 327. How long has the Swallowtail camp been established for? Bing suddenly asked. Mo Wei Tian was enlightened and suddenly felt that it was wonderful. The only thing he had to worry about was that it required extremely strong eyesight. Whether or not Bing had such eyesight, Mo Wei Tian did not have much confidence in it, but it was obvious that Bing was the person who understood the mechanical army the most. The majority of the resources in Heaven's Road were in their hands. Any difference in technology in front of them was not an obstacle. How's the progress? Bing asked Tang Yi. After sending Mo Wei Tian away, Sai Lei rushed over and asked, "Where did you get the blueprints from?" Pai Pa muttered, "If it's true then it can be explained. The Empress of the Imperial Harem only allowed Yi Zhaogu to enter Lupus constellation, and although Yi Jio was under pressure and could not openly send people, borrowing power outside of the Honorable Martial Alliance was his only choice. That means Yi Jio most likely sensed that something was wrong, so he is now making preparations." Bing suddenly stopped and looked into the distance. Yaya led a group of mechanical beasts and continued to rush forward. Yaya seemed to have found joy in rushing forward, and commanded his mechanical beast army to expand outwards. Sai Lei's eyes widened, his face was filled with disbelief and with a slight tremble. Southern Cross Army? Swallowtail Camp? Bing's expression congealed. Out of the spirit region. Oh. Bing shook his head. For a big family like the Mo family without a planet or even a constellation, it is impossible to accommodate them. Even if Lupus constellation is under our control, we cannot take out a planet to give to the Mo family. Bing was satisfied with the progress. To him, the Mo family's most valuable was the Mo family's reputation in the mechanical domain, and the distribution channels of mechanical spirit weapons. As for the rest, he did not care. The Mo family's army was also a cannon fodder army. To the Mo family it was important, but to Bing it was meaningless. Mo Wei Tian was stunned for a long time, then regained his senses and said, "Then what does Master Bing suggest?" Sai Lei was disappointed, his face full of regret, and said listlessly, "I still have to study the blueprints. There are already a few places that can be fixed. If we can't go then we can't go, it's just a wasteland, who wants it? Wait till I have fully grasped it and upgrade 3 Spirit City. It will definitely be better than that broken ruins." Yes, they are a powerhouse active in northern skies 19 continents, Comet Constellation. Bell explained. If not for them secretly gathering information about us, I would not have known that they were actually coveting Lupus Constellation. Then I got an uncertain message. Seems like we are in big trouble. Bing said the army that had been established for 7 years had obviously matured. Even if the strength of the generals was limited, their teamwork was still quite good. The Lupus army was a newly formed army and was most afraid of such an enemy. I haven't heard anything else yet. Belle's expression was not good, but she knew that Pai Pa's analysis was 90% accurate. I will give Patriarch Mo a very simple test method. As long as you pass the test you can bring them over. Bing did not beat around the bush. The army's special training will take about 5 months. Of course, the spirit cards and mechanical spirit weapons that are required will have to be paid by the Mo family. Other than that, when necessary, we have the authority to use this army. He opened the bronze door. There's nothing to think about, Feng Chou said straightforwardly. Bing retracted his gaze and brought Tang Yi and Feng Chou to a bronze door. I can't think of any other way, Bing said honestly. Mo Wei Tian pondered for a moment, then agreed. With the Mo family's current strength, there would not be any big shots that would look up to them. If the Mo family could migrate out of the spirit region, he was willing to pay a bigger price. Although everyone says that the northern skies 19 continents do not have a true army, but there are still a few similar powerhouses. The Swallowtail camp is one of them. The military leader is called Zhang Zheng. He is at the 8th level and is not in the Heaven Road list. The Swallowtail camp has a total of 500 people. All of them are at least at the 7th level and the leader is at the 8th level. When Zhang Zheng was young, he studied in Orion constellation, one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, but he did not succeed in his training. Instead, as a military leader, he displayed extraordinary talent. Before he took over, Comet Constellation almost lost its qualifications to be in the northern sky, but he followed the requirements of a proper army, and created the Swallowtail camp, which allowed Comet Constellation to step into the ranks of the middle-tier constellations. 7 years. Bell's information was very detailed. Mo Wei Tian took a deep breath, suppressing the excitement in his heart. Lupus Constellation? It was the wish of many generations of patriarchs of the Mo family. This ancient mechanical aristocratic family always hoped to have a place to stay. Although the spirit region had many conveniences, but at the same time, there were many drawbacks. For example, the concentration of energy, for example, the resources. It was not suitable for the development of a family. What does Master Bing see in it? Mo Wei Tian asked. Bing heaved a sigh of relief. Seems like the renovation of the 07 barracks was not something that could be done in a short period of time. But this time the most important thing was to pass the blueprints to Sai Lei. Since it was done, he was prepared to return to the recruit barracks. When Mo Wei Tian heard the words, Mo family's mechanical army, his heart jumped, but Bing's words after caused him to calm down. Bing's words coincided with his. Do not think that the Mo family was an aristocratic family in the mechanical domain. It was just because there was no tiger in the mountain, the monkey was the overlord. The mechanical techniques had declined for many years, and naturally the big shots would not invest in it. But once they realized the power of the mechanical techniques, they would start to invest. Sai Lei's face was filled with unwillingness. Is there no other way? Reporting Master. Tang Yi reported to Bing meticulously. It has all been settled. Both parties came to an agreement, and Mo Wei Tian did not stay any longer and rushed back to the Mo family. If he knew that Tang Tian and the rest had a conflict with the Honorable Martial Alliance, he would definitely not have agreed. I feel that both of us can cooperate, Bing said calmly. The Mo family has many disciples. I think it is not difficult to choose a portion of them to form an army. Even the lowest grade army to the Mo family is of great benefit. If the cooperation is successful, this army I plan to give it to the Mo family to expand outwards. The Mo family cannot stay in the spirit region forever. Scope. Bing did not speak any nonsense. The strong sense of urgency made Bing not stay any longer, and immediately returned to the recruit barracks. Seems like I have to hurry. Bing muttered to himself, although he was already prepared to fight with the opponent, but at that moment he realized that he did not have enough power. Other than Feng Chou, Tang Yi was there too. In front of the elite army, the cannon fodder army was like trash. Yes. The potential and power of the big shots was so terrifying that it made people despair. The Mo family's place of residence requires the Mo family's fresh blood to cultivate. Bing said directly, we can provide military leaders, but we will not participate. I believe in the Mo family's ability. A qualified mechanical army may not be able to occupy a constellation, but to occupy a planet in the northern sky's 19 continents should not be a problem. Uncertain news? Bing and Pai Pa were attracted by Bell's words. He brought Tang Yi and Feng Chou and headed towards the 07 Army Barracks. When they reached the 07 Army Barracks, Tang Yi and Feng Chou were completely stunned by the magnificent bronze forest in front of them. Both of their faces were filled with excitement. You can't go. Bing explained patiently. We entered through a special route. Only Tang Tian can enter. Even I can only enter. He can only bring spirit generals in. Yes. Bing nodded his head and did not hide anything. What we need is this opportunity. Bing said shrewdly. If the Mo family's operation succeeds, it will definitely shake the mechanical domain. The Mo family's mechanical spirit weapons can flow outwards in large numbers, and the people will flow towards the Mo family. We have to take advantage of this opportunity before anyone else can react. We cannot compete with the big shots in terms of resources, and the only thing that can win them is people. What do we need to pay? Mo Wei Tian asked calmly. After saying that, she walked away angrily. The Mo family will be our spokesperson in the mechanical domain. Bing said calmly, we need such a spokesperson. Once the Mo family's mechanical army appears, I believe very quickly mechanical techniques will once again enter everyone's eyes. At that time our advantage will not be as much. Bing looked around, seeing that there was no one. He said softly, I found an abandoned barracks. No one thought that Tang Tian would reject to hand over the safe and sound saber. In many people's eyes, the current situation in Lupus constellation had already stabilized. Many people even thought that Tang Tian's strength against Onyx Soul would attract the attention of the higher-ups of the Honorable Martial Alliance, and his future would be limitless. But the formation of an elite army was not easy, and Bing could only plan slowly. But before he left, Bell came back travel-worn and brought back a piece of bad news. Mo Wei Tian was not surprised. If the other party truly had such plans, he would seriously consider if it was the right choice to work with them. Giving a piece of land to the Mo family in Lupus constellation was not a problem, but if they were to give a planet to the Mo family, they would definitely receive strong opposition from the local powerhouses of Lupus constellation, and that would be digging their own grave. All right. Bing agreed. I wish you all the best. Master Bing's words are extremely true. Mo Wei Tian sighed. It would be good if we can seize the initiative. Have you guys thought it through? Bing looked at the two of them. I want to go. Sai Lei said decisively. Bing was taken aback and looked deeply at Tang Yi. Are you sure? Yes, I heard that Sagittarius Constellation's Palace Master Ho Yi Tian only allowed Yi Zhaogu to enter Lupus constellation. Bell's face was solemn. I cannot confirm the authenticity of this news. I feel that there is a high possibility that it is true. Ordinary people definitely do not know about Yi Zhaogu. If it is true, why would she interfere in this matter? I am not sure. Yes, there is a high possibility that Yi Jiu will find other helpers. Pai Pa calmly analyzed. The Swallowtail camp is obviously prepared for the Lupus army. But there is still Ling Su Crane and the rest. Yi Zhaogu is very strong, but to Yi Jiu, who is a veteran, he will definitely have other backup plans just in case. Also, if both sides break down with Yi Jiu's position, I am afraid that he will not be able to accept a stalemate or a bitter battle, and he will need to destroy the problem. If not, the pressure on him will be huge. How strong is the Swallowtail camp? Bing could not help but ask. Mo Wei Tian's entire body trembled, a surge of blood rushed to his head, and his breathing suddenly stopped. That is a good idea. Mo Wei Tian nodded. Tang Yi said seriously, Master, this subordinate hopes to lead the Lupus army. Chapter 328. The four walls of the spirit chamber were filled with the unique patterns of the mechanic techniques, densely packed like the veins of leaves. The spirit chamber originated from the martial technique wall, and was an accidental product of the Southern Cross Army's mechanic techniques. Once, in a desperate battle, the sergeants suffered heavy losses, and the commander had a bright idea, and used the martial technique wall to create a spirit military leader, which greatly alleviated the danger. 2 hours. 1 hour. This was an extremely good sign. Bing realized Feng Chao's willpower was much stronger than he had estimated. With a quick flick of his fingers, another 3 silver cards flew into the second row of grids. When the silver light was saturated, Bing had an additional gold card in his hand, a rank 8 gold card. Devouring was extremely cruel. Bing anxiously looked at the silver card. The flickering light aura meant that Tang Yi was currently in an intense battle with the martial spirit of the spirit card. Flickering meant that the battle was extremely intense. A skinny, gentle-looking spirit general slowly walked out and bowed to Bing. Warrant Officer Tang Cho here to report. But, suddenly the 24 spirit cards that were stuck on the door dissipated like smoke. A rank 8 gold card was placed in the first row of the 8th floor. But Bing still placed the 3rd silver card. Although the success rate of the spirit chamber was much higher than the martial technique wall, but there was still a risk of failure. If it failed, then it would be complete annihilation. The body and spirit would be destroyed and nothing would be left. It was not that there were no people like Tang Yi who evolved twice, but the risk of the second evolution was much higher than the first. Bing, who had been shocked for 2 hours, was preparing to place the 3rd gold card. He was extremely excited. Tang Yi, this rascal, could definitely be promoted to warrant officer. When the first silver card's light aura gradually dimmed, Bing placed the 2nd silver card. The silver light aura of the 3 cards lit up at the same time, and the silver light quickly permeated the surroundings. Bing was surprised. It was actually an extremely serious person. This was a typical staff officer. Their greatest use was in the staff office and not in the battlefield. If not for the imminent battle, Bing was extremely thirsty for this type of officer. But it was obvious, Tang Chou was unable to contribute to the battle. What made him heave a sigh of relief was that the silver light emitted from the card was very stable. It wasn't as violent as the last time, but this time, it took him a whole 10 hours to absorb it. At this moment, the speed at which the silver light seeped into the card began to slow down. Another 10 minutes passed and another 3 silver cards appeared. Feng Chao's display of power was stronger, the spirit hall was more complete than the martial technique wall, and the number of spirit cards in Bing's hands was much more than before, but most importantly, Feng Chao's was a martial spirit, while Ghost Claw only left behind a trace of qi. A dazzling silver light suddenly blossomed from the silver card. Bing's heart sank. Not good. On the bronze door, horizontal and straight lines formed a grid. Each row had 3 grids, and from top to bottom there were a total of 18 layers. 18 levels formed the 18 military ranks of the Southern Cross Army. Every level required 3 spirit cards. The spirit cards on the door were not destroyed, which meant that the advancement round was not over yet. Tang Yi still wanted to continue. Feng Chou entered without hesitation. Bing laughed at himself. Bing dared to guarantee that he had used the spirit hall many times, but the situation in front of him was the first time. The 7th level silver card actually almost failed, and the 8th level gold card actually stabilized. But at that moment he had no other choice. If Tang Yi did not want it to end, then it could not end. If not, he would definitely fail. Taking a deep breath, the light in Bing's eyes exploded. Since you want to continue, then work hard. Bing's expression was solemn, his fingers flying. The cards were quickly thrown into the grid on the door. All these cards were meticulously prepared by him. One by one, the silver light lit up and Bing's expression congealed. He was like a clay statue staring at the bronze door without moving for a full 3 seconds. Tang Yi's gold-ranked staff sergeant was at the 6th level. This. As expected, the silver light started to flicker. One moment it was dazzling, the next moment it was dim, as though it could be extinguished at any time. To call it a door was actually wrong. It was actually a sealed room called the Spirit Hall. Its entire body was made from the Southern Cross bronze, and the formula of the Southern Cross bronze was an absolute secret in that era. Bing was deep in thought and said, "Warrant officer, please introduce yourself." Bing's fingers trembled. This asshole, his temper was indeed the same as Ghost Claw's. After a full 7 hours, the second spirit card's gold light was completely absorbed. Every barracks would have a spirit hall in case the situation was critical, and they were unable to replenish their manpower. Although spirit military leaders were not as strong as military leaders, but in times of crisis, they were the best replenishment. Bing stared at the bronze door in front of him, somewhat in a daze. Bing's heart was in his throat. Could it be because he was now a spirit general? Why was he so sentimental? In the past he had used the spirit hall so many times, but he did not feel this way. It was like an old subordinate of his facing a life and death crisis. The bronze door slowly opened. The second gold card was completely absorbed and the light aura dimmed. This also meant that Tang Yi's potential had actually been squeezed out. He was already a sergeant major. This was... Tang Chao's appearance was completely different from Feng Chao's. Not only was he not ugly, he was rather handsome. He was around 40 years old, his body was skinny, his eyes were extremely spirited, giving people a feeling of elegance, but his hands were empty without any weapons. The bronze door once again closed, the first to the 7th level of the lattice, all turned gray. In just an hour, this 8th level gold card was actually completely absorbed. This gold card took a full 24 hours to be completely absorbed. Everything was very stable and there were no flaws. Bing heaved a sigh of relief and was extremely excited. The gold light of the card exploded and almost immediately stabilized. The dazzling gold light was strangely stable, and the speed at which the gold light spread caused Bing to be dumbstruck. 2 hours later, the gold light of the gold card had already gradually dimmed. This gold card was placed by Bing on the first lattice of the 8th level. Once the gold card was placed, it released a bright light, and the intense gold light started to quickly spread along the surrounding silver channels, and the silver channels that were as fine as spider webs had an additional trace of gold. Bing's eyes lit up. The speed at which the silver light permeated was very fast. Soldiers were split into 3 levels, soldiers were split into 4 levels, officers were split into 4 levels, officers were split into 3 levels, generals were split into 3 levels, and the strongest was the commander. Alright, I was not a cold and unfeeling person in the past. After that, according to the martial technique wall, but the more advanced spirit hall appeared, it had a higher success rate and a shorter time. For the martial technique wall to nurture a spirit general, it required a very long time to swallow, but the spirit hall greatly accelerated the process. In times of crisis, the enemy would not give you much time. Bing wanted to remind Tang Yi, but Tang Yi was already walking towards the bronze door. Bing was very clear, Tang Yi's innate foundation was too weak. If it was before Ghost Claw dissipated, Bing felt that with Ghost Claw's willpower he would at least be a captain. But the strand of spirit that Ghost Claw injected was too weak. But to rely on such a weak spirit, to be able to produce a gold staff sergeant, already made Bing feel shocked. When he rose to the 7th level, the spirit hall's surroundings seemed to be enveloped by silver channels. It looked extremely beautiful, but at this time the silver light was already saturated. Bing was not surprised. He knew from the 7th level to the 8th level, it was a qualitative leap. Yes. Tang Chou complied and walked to the side. What logic was that? Bing knew that Feng Chao's devouring was almost finished, but he still placed the 3rd gold card. Bing laughed at himself and retracted his state of mind. The dazzling gold light continued to permeate into the silver channels. Bing's eyeballs immediately popped out. The expression on his face was as though he had seen a ghost. When Bing placed the 2nd gold spirit card, his entire brain was not working well. Time slowly passed. The rapidly changing silver light gradually stabilized. After spending 3 hours, the silver light of the silver card then started to dim. Compared to Tang Chou, Tang Yi's efficiency was far from it. Feng Chao's martial spirit was also incomplete, but compared to Ghost Claw's thin chi, it was still much stronger. Just at this time, suddenly the 1st gold card was destroyed, transforming into a cloud of smoke and dissipating. The scene in front of him was extremely strange. The 2nd gold card was releasing a weak gold light, and the 2 squares on its left and right were empty. At this time, Bing placed the 2nd gold card. It was also an 8th level gold card. When this card was placed, it released the same gold light, but the speed at which the silver channels absorbed the gold light was obviously slower. But Bing could feel Tang Yi's determination and did not object. Bing placed the silver card on the 1st square on the 7th level. The silver card's light aura flourished, and the silver light was very stable, which made Bing heave a sigh of relief. In terms of commanding ability, the Sergeant Major's commanding ability was 100, while the Warrant Officer's commanding ability was 200. But the difference between the two was not only the commanding ability of 100 in terms of battle tactics, there was a considerable difference between the two. At the rank of Warrant Officer, military generals would start to differentiate. Some were known for their individual strength, some were good at controlling auras, and some were good at battle tactics. The Spirit Hall used them a lot and naturally had some experience. Feng Chou was an 8th level spirit general, so he had to start from the 8th level. He picked out 3 8th level silver spirit cards and placed them at the lowest level of the Spirit Hall. Every square was placed a spirit card, and the spirit cards were absorbed into the square, lighting up with a gentle silver light, the silver light quickly permeating into the veins on the walls. In a short 10 minutes, Bing had already thrown out 15 cards, which meant that Feng Chou had already reached the rank of sergeant, and was only 1 level away from Tang Yi. "Thank you for your hard work, Warrant Officer. Please wait at the side." Bing nodded. The 7th level was for the Sergeant Major and the 8th level was for the Warrant Officer. As for Bing's military rank, even Tang Tian did not know the 15th level Major General. Feng Chou was a battle maniac and actually became a staff-type warrant officer as expected. The world was unpredictable. Tang Chou bowed. Yes. Tang Chou 8th level fighting ability is terrible, technique is passable, tactics are good. Bing's expression was solemn. He took out a chest, opened it, and inside it was filled with spirit cards. He took out all the spirit cards. In the past he had used the Spirit Hall countless of times and by right he should be familiar with it and should not have any emotional fluctuations. But why did he actually feel a tinge of nervousness? Chapter 329. At this time he needed to replenish his card. Well done. Bing nodded his head. He took out the star treasure that he had prepared for a long time. The low voice caused people's hearts to tremble. Bing then clearly saw Tang Yi's appearance. Tang Yi did not change much. Other than his body becoming more tall and sturdy, the most eye-catching change was his zanbato. Bing's heart gradually calmed down. He sat down on the sand dune beside him. Sky Tiger accompanied him, watching the sun slowly set. 20 minutes later, the news of the star door from Cetus constellation to Lupus constellation being closed quickly spread. Any unique military leader was different from the rest. Bing's heart sank. He did not expect that the opponent would come so quickly. He had just closed the star door and the opponent had already killed his way here. It was obvious that the opponent was long prepared. Young lad Tang, you must do your best. 500, Tang Yi replied solemnly. You want to continue leading Lupus army? Bing casually asked. Hey Bing, the only thing you can rely on is yourself. Warrant Officer Tang Yi reporting. Bing muttered in his heart, and when he reacted he could not help but laugh. He had actually unknowingly treated the unreliable person as the most trustworthy person. Yi Jiu clenched his teeth and squeezed the words out, his eyes bloodshot, his expression sinister. The subordinates that were guarding by the side, all kept quiet out of fear. The word unique had a long history before Immortal martial named unique martial techniques. Very few people knew that the three great armies had also used the same word, just that they used it to name military leaders. In that era, it was an era where military leaders were produced and almost all the strong martial artists were military leaders. But there were always some military leaders who were special in a certain domain. They had attainments that others could not surpass. These military leaders were called unique military leaders. Master, an army has appeared in the west, numbering about 500. Good, you can head to Three Spirit City. Bing turned his head. Without hesitation, Yi Xiaogu disappeared into the horizon. The setting sun was like blood, sprinkling across the desert. Bing stood up from the sand dune that he had sat on for 4 days and 4 nights, and walked in front of Huoma Air, closed the star door to Cetus constellation. The higher-ups of Cetus constellation were all enraged. I can finally catch up with the excitement. The ghostly voice seemed to dissipate in the darkening night. No one noticed when Sima Xianxia appeared there. How many do you command? Bing asked Tang Yi. He was not too sure how many warrant officers could command. If Tang Yi died, this San Medea would not disappear with him but would remain in this world. On the 4th day, the last night of the ultimatum. Yes. Tang Chou turned and flew towards Three Spirit City. That stupid, crazy young man who would go crazy from time to time? Hey Bing, you have long lost the leader who supported you. Alright, he had been asleep for too long and his skills had regressed too much. He had actually made such a low-level mistake. Bing looked at the suicide room which did not have any movements. 10 minutes later she flew back and said, Sir, the star door has been closed. There were only 5 days left. Bing shouted softly in his heart and turned without hesitation. Go, let's return to the Lupus tribe. 500? Bing was startled but immediately nodded his head. It was out of his expectations. An ordinary warrant officer's command was 200, but Tang Yi actually had 500 as expected of a unique military general. A warrant officer's command was already the same as a first lieutenant. But Bing had already calmed down. A unique military general was powerful, but no matter how powerful, Tang Yi was still a warrant officer and could not place too much hope on him. The ultimatum, Bing casually threw it into the rubbish bin. Yes. Tang Chou said solemnly. Bing laughed at himself. He was truly a person who was never content. He had actually met such a rare unique spirit military general, and he actually felt that his military rank was too low. Bing wanted to reply, but suddenly Sima Xianxia exclaimed. He turned his head and looked at a sand dune in the distance. Everyone's eyes followed his gaze. The so-called replenishing the card meant that the card in front needed to be replenished again, which was extremely rare. When the spirit cards on the door were destroyed, most of them would be destroyed at the same time when the spirit general was completed, because this was the sign of the new spirit general cutting off all previous connections and completing a new life. A tall and sturdy figure with a powerful aura slowly walked out. With that he took the lead and flew far away. It was a dazzling golden triangle, a gold treasure of the Triangulum constellation in the northern sky. Triangulum vortex. This was a gold treasure that Bing spent 1 billion to buy from the market. He was able to produce a formless energy vortex which could disrupt energy. Alright, in terms of intelligence, the only person that Bing could beat was probably a Maori. Crane. Suddenly, a few of the scouts had panicked expressions. Yi Jiu's anger subsided but his gaze was still cold. Humph, this time I will let you all experience my methods. The bronze door slowly opened and Bing's eyes widened. All of a sudden, all the cards were annihilated with a bang. They turned into smoke and disappeared. The 2 cards' golden light was extremely stable, and lasted for a full 15 hours, before the golden light gradually dimmed down. Your encampment is 3 Spirit Cities training camp, and you have 2 missions. The first is to help Pai Pa and set up a general staff office. But now there is nothing for you to advise, so your second mission is to be in charge of the training camp's daily training. Do you understand? Bing looked at Tang Chou. And very good, then from today onwards you will be the general of the Lupus army. Bing said deeply. He turned his face to Tang Chou. Warrant Officer Tang Chou, I will now announce your appointment. Jinghao, I know you're here, come out. Thinking back, Bing suddenly realized in his heart he had always thought that the key to victory was Tang Tian. Of the same level of military generals, a unique military general was far stronger than an ordinary military general. Yes. Tang Yi replied straightforwardly. Master, an army has appeared from the east. There are about 200 of them. Let's change locations. Yi Zhaoji's expression was indifferent. I have been waiting for you for a long time. Master, 2 people from the north are approaching. They do not have good intentions and their speed is extremely fast. A figure floated in the sky above the Lupus tribe and no one actually noticed his arrival. But this was probably the lowest-ranked unique military general in the history of the army, a warrant officer's unique military general. The voice came so suddenly without any warning, the people of the Lupus tribe subconsciously stopped what they were doing, and raised their heads to look at the sky. Yi Zhaoji's hoarse and low voice was like an explosive hurricane sweeping out in all directions, turning illusions into reality. The reason why the Southern Cross Army was so strong in the past was because the army had more unique military generals than the other 2 families. But the Spirit Hall actually produced a unique spirit military general. This was something he had heard of before, but it was his first time personally witnessing it. Ling Su's stern voice came out from behind Bing. A figure shot into the sky like an arrow. It was actually Jing Hao. It was the nemesis of the Honorable Martial Alliance's Honorable Martial Door, which was a fixed-point teleportation. At the same time there was a wave of bone-chilling cold. Brother Yi. Jing Hao's expression was calm. He was not surprised with his relationship with Tang Tian. His every move was seen by others. Guessing that he came to Lupus Constellation was not strange. Bing's body trembled. Hey uncle, where's my flamingo? His underlings immediately gave the order to attack. Hua Er's heart trembled. She did not speak any nonsense and quickly flew out, giving the order that was already agreed upon. Bing's heart was filled with anticipation. The replenishment of cards was an extremely rare situation, and would also allow the Spirit General to have some special abilities. Bing had met with replenishment cards before, but he had never met such a low-level Spirit General before. And Tang Yi himself was a gold-ranked staff sergeant, which was also extremely rare. Bing heard the 2 words Brother Yi, and was shocked. Yi Zhaogu. But seeing that Jing Hao had lured Yi Zhaogu away, Bing heaved a sigh of relief. Yi Zhaogu was obviously Jing Hao's strongest support, and with him being lured away, it was undoubtedly one less threat. A formless undulation with the gold triangle as the center, spread out in all directions. Beside a Maori who was immensely pleased with himself, Han Bingning lowered his eyebrows and walked slowly with his sword. When Bing and Tang Yi returned to the Lupus tribe, they received another bad news. Yi Jiu had sent out an ultimatum, giving them only 5 days. If they did not hand over the safe and sound saber, they would have to bear the consequences. His heart was filled with worry. Until now, it had already been 20 days, but there was no movement from everyone. Similarly furious, Yi Jiu, who had just received the news, his face was green. He was indeed tricked by Tang Tian. This rascal did not even have the intention to hand over the safe and sound saber. Jing Hao was taken aback. Yi Zhaoji's words had a deeper meaning. Unique military leaders among the spirit military leaders were extremely rare. Their unique characteristic was very obvious, and that was to turn from illusion to reality. Spirit generals were ultimately illusory bodies like Tang Yi. Regardless of whether it was his body or his Zanbato, they were all illusory bodies. But the Zanbato in his hand had turned from illusory to reality and had become a real body. Buzz. When a spirit general was produced from a spirit hull, there was a rather rare situation, called replenishment of cards. Without hesitation, Bing placed a rank 8 gold grade card in the first and third grid. For Tang Yi to be able to rise to the rank of warrant officer, Bing was already extremely happy. Tell them move out. But Yi Zhaoji's suggestion was exactly what he wanted. This was the Lupus tribe. If they were to fight, the Lupus tribe would definitely be destroyed. He nodded his head. All right. All right, that rascal's strength was actually not bad, but sometimes it was not effective, and deeply illustrated the true meaning of the word convulsion. Phew, I'm not late. Liangqiu was panting, his entire body was drenched, his feet bare, his hands and legs were not even broken in time. That was a unique military leader. The gentle Tang Chao's face became solemn. Master, please bestow it. The previously gray blade had now become as black as ink, and the quality seemed to have become even heavier. Like the black blade, the golden mark of Southern Cross constellation was clearly visible. Furthermore, it was a unique military leader. 2 seconds later, a swordsman with tattered clothes appeared on the sand dune. Only his eyes were clear as water. Wait a minute, Jing Hao. But there were always exceptions. For example, the 8th floor's first gold grade card suddenly disappeared, which meant that the spirit general's speed of devouring martial spirits had suddenly increased. Since you guys are seeking death, then I will fulfill your wish. Bing's face finally changed. He had underestimated Yijio. Yijio actually had so many tricks up his sleeves. Hey uncle, are you scared? While only a lively martial man can come and save you. A Maori's pleased voice came from behind him. Bing looked at the sand dune in the distance. The bright red setting sun dyed the sand dune a fiery red. It was the sign of a big battle. Tangtian, do your best. The 2 gold grade cards lit up with a golden light. It was extremely dazzling. Chapter 330. Regardless of emotions or in the future internal struggles of the Honorable Martial Group, they would definitely not choose Tang Tian. Ling Su held onto his silver spear, flipped and sat on Flamingo, his orange pupils surging with flames. He coldly said, I alone am enough. Sima Xiangshan lowered his voice. Don't count that idiot in. As time passed, both parties still did not come to an agreement, causing everyone to once again smell something strange. Everyone realized there was an undercurrent quietly surging. Compared to Jing Hao, Tang Tian was much stronger. He had just formed his wings and formed his own faction. The neutral faction no longer had any space for Tang Tian to survive. Unless they chose Tang Tian and gave up on Jing Hao. In the distant desert, an army with a similar number of people slowly entered their vision. Almost everyone thought that Tang Tian would definitely become the core member of the 3rd-generation disciples of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Bing muttered to himself. The sound of the bugle horn caused the fighting intent in his chest to ignite. How generous. There was no wind coming from an empty hole. A Maori was slightly regretful. Such a pity Fundamental Tang is not out yet. Such a pity the lively martial man's wild earth blade. The godlike young man will not be able to see it. Wah, he did not get to see it. Hehehe. Lively martial man. Wild earth blade. Invincible. In the past few days, Tang Yi did not slack off on the training of the army, and after experiencing the tempering of the flames of war, the improvement was much faster than before. The soldiers who had been on the battlefield had a deeper understanding of training than before. They knew why they needed such training, what kind of training could help them survive on the battlefield. A gentle voice came out. Crane was like a big black crane, floating down in front of everyone. His clothes were tattered. One could imagine how difficult it was for him to go through the past few days. Uncle, you can arrange it. Hearing what junior brother said, it does have some meaning. Qiu Shijun nodded his head. The strongest army, the most military leaders, the craziest king, that was Leo Constellation. Then is Master Arrow Saint's order real? Qiu Shijun asked. After pondering for a while, everyone realized that this was prepared for the Honorable Martial Gate of the Honorable Martial Alliance. But that was absolutely impossible. Qiu Shijun was moved. Such a strong power. However, with such pressure, don't the other members of the Honorable Martial Alliance have any objections? When Lupus Constellation closed the star door to Cetus Constellation, all the people who were watching Lupus Constellation went into an uproar. Everyone wanted to watch the show, but when the Real show appeared, everyone felt that Tang Tian was stupid and overestimated himself. This enigmatic character. Everyone couldn't help but roll their eyes. Ling Su and Crane, I will leave the 2 from the north to you 2. We don't know the origins of these 2 people, so you have to be careful. Swindy. Let's go. Ling Su and Crane were the two young geniuses. A Maori and the other three's feelings towards Tang Tian were much higher than the Honorable Martial Group. Adding the Saint Sword Ocean Prison and Army, two spirit military leaders, especially Bing with his astonishing control aura, had shocked all the elders of the neutral faction. This feeling is so good. So this is your comrade. Sima Xiao sneered. Other people think that Onyx Soul has a strict hierarchy, but they don't know that the righteous Honorable Martial Alliance is even worse. With the pressure from above, it is a normal thing. I dare say that in a while Yijie will announce that Tang Tian and the rest are traitors of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Tang Yi, who had been promoted to a warrant officer, had a much higher attainment in tactics than before, and the training of the army was much more effective. All the elders had watched Jing Hao grow up, and he was truly one of them. As for Tang Tian, he came from a fringe planet and had very little contact with the Honorable Martial Alliance. The neutral faction was strong, but they had long found a successor, and that was Jing Hao. If Tang Tian was alone, they would do everything in their power to protect Tang Tian, and groom Tang Tian to become Jing Hao's helper. But there were a few exceptions like Sima Xiao. A Maori excitedly waved his broken blade to cut the air. Bing jumped onto Sky Tiger. Don't forget that Immortal Constellation, who was recovering, was also Tang Tian's support. He shook his head and could not help but sigh. This was truly a world where the fist was the biggest. Our mission is to deal with the army in the west, Bing said to the four of them. Bing's heart was immediately stuffed to the brim. The coldness of the desert's evening seemed to have disappeared without a trace, and the gradually darkening sky did not have a trace of loneliness. His gaze swept across everyone, and suddenly, it was like 10,000 years ago in the smoke, all the familiar faces. Such an opponent, even the strong Honorable Martial Alliance was somewhat fearful. The majority of the Honorable Martial Alliance's strong martial artists were all mobilized, and this was no longer a secret in Heaven's Road. Truly too arrogant. Qiu Zhijun remained silent. But a pity he could only wait for the battle to end. Qiu Zhijun did not sleep. He sat there deep in thought. Not long later, a subordinate rushed in. Seeing that Sima Xiao was sleeping, he handed the report to Qiu Zhijun. And Yijie, with his sharp eyes, saw this point, and made his moves ruthlessly and accurately. Yes. Tang Yi replied expressionlessly. He turned and brought the assembled Lupus army and sprinted towards the east. Yijie is not a mediocre person. His methods have always been ruthless and sharp. Sima Xiao raised his leg and placed it on the table in front of him, his body half lying down, the desserts in his hands stuffed into his mouth, and said, Swallowtail Camp Heavy Iron Army, out of the 5 armies in Northern Sky's 19 continents, only 2 came. Adding Guang Wu and Yong Xianzhong, they truly have thunderous methods. Sima Zhao's thoughts wandered. If the various powerhouses were to choose an enemy that they did not want to provoke, Lion King Leong would definitely be ranked first. That man was a lunatic, and his subordinates were also lunatics, a group of lunatics whose eyes would light up upon talking about war. But Tang Tian was not alone, and a small group gradually formed around Tang Tian. But what happened next was something that no one could understand. Actually, the timing now is the most advantageous for Tang Tian. The Honorable Martial Alliance and Lion King are like fire and water. Leong, that lunatic, truly makes people afraid. If they are not careful, they will be killed. The Honorable Martial Alliance also knows, to fight with that lunatic, if they show any signs of losing, it will be the end of their lives. Does he think that just because he has some strength he can challenge the Honorable Martial Alliance? And with regards to the Sagittarius Empress Restriction Order, it quietly spread among the various powerhouses. Wielding the Saint Sword Ocean Prison, her strength was unfathomable, and she had 2 spirit military leaders under her, and currently the entire Lupus constellation was in her hands. Adding that she was in the Honorable Martial Alliance, the publicly acknowledged strongest powerhouse, her future was limitless. The wind blew up the sand curtain like a mist. The sound was like a bugle horn, a low whimper. It should be. Sima Xiao revealed a look of deep thought. But for a person like the Empress who is so busy, she will definitely not waste her time on unimportant matters. For her to do so, there must be some deeper meaning. Just that, I do not know who among Tang Tian's group has any connection with Sagittarius constellation. And the Empress Restriction Order is very thought-provoking. She opposed the Honorable Martial Alliance's large group entering Lupus constellation, but allowed Yi Zhaogu to enter alone. From the looks of it, it seems like she is using Yi Zhaogu as a grindstone. Unless Tang Tian is her junior? Or, among the group of people there is someone who is her junior? Seems like we need to investigate. Everyone looked at Bing. The previous battle to a rookie army was undoubtedly a true metamorphosis. Don't think that it was just a battle, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. To be able to make the enemy so fearful, it was in itself a kind of glory. Bing also lowered his voice. I know. Bing took a deep breath, his gaze becoming cold. Good. Tang Yi, the Eastern Army Swallowtail Camp, I'll leave it to you. Your mission is, no matter what, to persevere for an hour. Clan Elder Yi Jiu requested for Tang Tian to hand over the safe and sound saber, while Tang Tian's neutral faction gave up on Tang Tian. This caused everyone to be unable to understand. Tang Tian was so young, with the strength and talent he had displayed. Why would the Honorable Martial Alliance choose such a method? At least we are not late. Everyone then realized Tang Yi's change and could not help but be secretly surprised. Many of the powerhouses who were watching the battle all had the same problem, that was Bing's triangular gold vortex, was disrupting the energy undulations of the entire Lupus constellation, although the degree of disruption was not big, but it made all the star treasures that could transmit images lose their effect. When the pressure from Cetus constellation came, all the powerhouses heard it, but they did not care. Cetus constellation might be one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, but other than Leo constellation, who would care about the Honorable Martial Alliance? The previous battle of Lupus constellation attracted countless eyes, although a month had passed, but there were still many people watching Lupus constellation. What they were most concerned about was the sudden rise of Tang Tian. Qiu Zhijun swept a glance, praising his junior brother in his heart for not being wrong at all. Yi Jiu had announced that Tang Tian, a Maori, and the other 4 were traitors of the Honorable Martial Alliance, but the weird thing was he did not issue any wanted orders to kill them. Flamingo transformed into a regiment of flames, flying towards the north. Suddenly he stopped. More importantly, it meant that Tang Tian and the rest were long prepared, which made everyone's hearts itch even more, and they could not wait to head over to the battlefield. This is fighting side by side. Crane laughed helplessly, waved his hands to everyone like a big crane. He soared up and followed closely behind Ling Su. The Lupus soldiers behind him all stopped at the same time. Crane's words received everyone's approval. Out of all of them, only Bing was a military general, and was the most familiar with such a scene. Tang Yi sat on his horse, controlling the horse's speed, and walked emotionlessly at the front of the group. Behind him, the Lupus army's formation was solemn and silent. So everyone was curious, what would Tang Tian choose? Very quickly, the news of Tang Tian being willing to hand over the safe and sound saber spread out, and all those who wanted to watch the show were disappointed. Qiu Zhijun sighed and understood. It was because Yi Jiu did not dare to offend the Empress. Among the troops there was an additional somber intent. Sima Xiao mumbled, I never thought that Tang Tian and the rest would actually have a star treasure to interfere with the energy. We can't watch the show anymore. I did not even recall my scouts. Truly, I wasted such a big battle. Now we can only wait for the results. Oh, I'm a little tired, I'll sleep first. Sima Xiao fell asleep on the chair. The Honorable Martial Alliance was not an iron bucket. As people continued to dig, more and more details appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 331. What a tyrannical blade. It saved us the effort of searching. Yong Xianzhong said casually. That pair of indifferent eyes was filled with murderous intent. Ling Su's palm gently caressed Flamingo, and Flamingo intimately used its head to rub against his palm. A bad thought popped up in Zhang Zheng's mind. Yi Jiu was his father-in-law and Yi Zhaogu was his brother-in-law. How could he reject them? Silently cursing in his heart, Crane opened up his arms and flapped them gently, his speed suddenly increasing. Guang Wu's appearance was old, his face was full of wrinkles, his hair was white like snow, but his gaze was extremely sharp. He carried a large blade on his back. He squinted his eyes. This old man never thought that the person I would be accompanying would actually be nephew Yong. Is Teacher Bian safe and sound? The opponent's attack was exactly what Zhang Zheng wanted. The Swallowtail camp was stronger in defense than offense. He was initially worried that the opponent would not come out, but he did not expect for the entire army to come out, causing him to be overjoyed. The shield-bearers of the army stood at the outermost perimeter of the circle formation. They raised the shields in their hands at the same time, and frantically injected true power. Suddenly the two of them stopped talking and looked into the distance. A red and a black figure was rushing towards them. Tang Yi, who was on horseback, suddenly arched his body. His gaze was on the enemy and was somewhat interested. In the past few days he had heard of the rumors regarding Tang Tian, and was rather interested in Tang Tian's people. Everyone knew that Yong Xianzhong was Bian Wu Heng's closed-door disciple, but very few people knew that he was Yi Jiu's son-in-law. Yi Jiu's daughter was his wife. But their speed had decreased. They were truly benefiting themselves. The Swallowtail camp had also discovered the Lupus army, and stopped about a kilometer away from the Lupus army. Yong Xianzhong's heart trembled, but he did not expect that the bird-riding martial artist would be so valiant. Borrowing the momentum, he welcomed the blood-red blade aura and soared into the sky. I am also stronger than before. As for the Lupus army, he did not place them in his eyes at all. To him, if such a newbie army was considered an army, it was a joke. Compared to his Swallowtail camp, the difference in strength was too great. A cold smile appeared at the corner of Zhang Zheng's mouth. He was filled with confidence. Up until now, the battle had already fallen into his rhythm. Although he had sacrificed 50 shield bearers, it was undoubtedly extremely worth it. Ling Su thought silently. Suddenly he raised his head and saw 2 black dots in the distance. His expression turned cold and he rushed forward without hesitation. Next, it was time for the tactic he was best at, positional strangulation. The reason why elites were elites was because of their powerful battle prowess, and because of their glorious battle records. It was simply too powerful. Suddenly he felt a gaze fall on him. The flamingo sprinted across the desert. The blazing red flames on its body formed a horizontal line of fire as it sprinted. Ling Su was very happy. The speed of the fiery bird was even faster than before. More importantly, the flamingo martial spirit seemed to be even stronger than before. Guang Wu nodded. To be sure, the prosperity of the secular world is boring. He subconsciously looked over and saw a pair of cold eyes. For the sake of inviting him, Yi Jiu gave him a price that he could not reject. Although he was greedy, he was extremely cautious and repeatedly studied every detail of the Battle of Lupus Constellation. His personal strength was not strong, but his tactics were rather good. What he was most afraid of was the spirit military leader with the astonishing control aura. The crucial point was that it was already too late for them to turn back. Right from the start, the one in charge of the Lupus army was Tang Yi. For some reason, Zhang Zheng felt that something was amiss. What detail did he miss out on? Yong Xianzhong bowed slightly to express his gratitude. My master's body is still healthy, just that he does not like outside matters and lives in seclusion. Even this junior can only see him a few times a year. The gigantic blade aura fiercely slashed onto the light barrier. The dense killing intent locked onto Zhang Zheng. Suddenly, the Lupus army in front of them actually took the initiative to attack and rush towards them. Wait a minute. What is he trying to do? The Swallowtail camp's formation suddenly changed and quickly shrunk to the center, forming a circle. The formation was dense. The spirit military leader wielding the Zanbato, Zhang Zheng recognized him immediately. He was the spirit military leader that charged into the formation that day. This spirit military leader was suitable to be a sharp blade, but completely unsuitable to lead an army. That's right. That's right. But at the same time he was clear that in the army, your value would forever be related to your ability. To obtain Master Bing's approval, the Lupus army had to display sufficient fighting strength, and needed sufficient victories. Strangle. Guang Wu was already unable to suppress the killing intent in his heart, and took the lead to pounce towards the red figure. In the air, Guang Wu unsheathed his blade and with a hiss sound like an eagle pouncing on a rabbit he rushed forward. Killing intent flashed past Zhang Zheng's eyes. Open. The light barrier immediately shattered, and all the shield soldiers felt as though their chests were struck by a heavy hammer, and their bodies fell backwards. Their comrades behind immediately held them up and injected true power into their bodies. The 200 men of the Lupus army that were rushing towards them were not in a mess, and were in a standard arrow formation. He had never heard of the Swallowtail camp and did not care. Master's order was for him to fight for an hour, and Tang Yi could understand the meaning of the order. A silver cold aura blossomed in his vision. In that moment, the Lupus army was already less than 50 m away from them. Swallowtail-like blades. To an army that was charging, losing the advantage of speed would cause the threat to plummet. Such a high-speed assault was a test of leadership, and if the leadership was not enough, the formation would definitely be in chaos. But the enemy's formation in front of him was not in the least bit in chaos. Tang Yi was actually very clear that Master Bing did not place much importance on the Lupus army. That was not strange. Tang Yi was born because of the Southern Cross Army, and he was very clear of the army's situation. Furthermore, Master Bing was in charge of the recruit barracks, and these Lupus army were far inferior to the vassal soldiers, so it was not strange that Master Bing did not care about them. Seeking death. Zhang Zheng's expression turned cold and suddenly bellowed, "Circle formation." Zhou Xian was about 25 or 26 years old, dressed in luxurious brocade robes. His demeanor was that of an immortal, not tainted by any worldly aura. He chuckled while flying. "Mr. Yi is truly an ambitious and ruthless person. I never thought that you would be able to invite a senior like Elder Guang. This junior is truly surprised." Because Tang Yi had feelings for them and because Tang Yi was not satisfied. The distance between both parties quickly closed. "You must be excited, you must be impatient, our home is on the battlefield." Master requested for him to fight for an hour, but what Tang Yi wanted was a victory. Like a sudden clap of thunder, the weather changed. Once the formation started, it meant that victory was not far away. Tang Yi suddenly leapt into the air, his pitch-black zanbato raised high above his head, his body stretched and bent, only his face was calm and unruffled. Zhou Xian was a person with a great background. His teacher Bian Wu Heng had stepped into the sacred Saint Galaxy 10 years ago and shook the world. Zhang Zheng calmed down. Seems like Yi Jiu's arrangements had caught Tang Tian and the rest unprepared to actually commit such a grave mistake. If they were able to defeat the famous Lupus army, then their own Swallowtail camp would also rise, and their name would become even more famous. Kill. He was not satisfied. Such a tenacious army was being treated as a cannon fodder army. The soldiers formed into small formations like a pair of scissors that were spinning at high speed, spinning and turning. They truly did not know life from death. The Lupus army's momentum was stopped. The huge recoil caused their chests to feel stuffy, but luckily they had the advantage in numbers, so they were not injured. The biting cold killing intent caused the hearts of the Swallowtail camp soldiers to tremble, but luckily Zhang Zheng was experienced and shouted, "Shield." Suddenly his heart skipped a beat. "Commander." This army that was destined to become cannon fodder did not have a single person who did not work hard. No one was lazy, they were not afraid of death. Seeing them grow bit by bit, seeing them sweat, seeing them fight with their lives, Tang Yi, who had personally built them up, was willing to become their commander. Not good. This spirit military leader was hiding his strength the last time. Guang Wu was hailed as the blood blade artist and had been famous for 30 years, but because he was too bloodthirsty and cruel, he had difficulty increasing his realm. But his own strength was extremely strong, and was ranked 8315 on the Heaven Road list. Master Bing did not think highly of the Lupus army. The blade aura was dyed with blood. Zhang Zheng, who was naturally suspicious, had this thought, and his face could not help but change. Seeing the Lupus army soldiers being flustered, blocking left and right, looking extremely battered and exhausted, Zhang Zheng's heart was extremely pleased. Lowly and weak, tenacious and tenacious. 200 blade auras merged into one and pounced forward. The zanbato in Tang Yi's hand that was as big as a door brought along a terrifying wind sound and slashed out. Behind him, the Lupus soldiers all brandished the curved blades in their hands. But it was very interesting. Zhou Xian's face was indifferent, but his heart was not happy. He was from a prestigious family, and naturally did not like these demonic martial artists. Humph, this old man owed Yi Jiu a favor in the past, and today I will return it. Guang Wu licked his lips, his eyes filled with killing intent. Today I will kill to my heart's content. 50 shield auras lit up at the same time, converging into a light barrier, protecting the entire army inside. Bian Wu Heng had 3 disciples. Zhou Xian was ranked last and his strength was the weakest, but in the Heaven Road list he was ranked 8228. He truly has no team spirit. Zhang Zheng was roughly 40 years old with a rough appearance. He sized up the Lupus army in front of him. When he saw the spirit military leader at the front, he sneered, "We will definitely win this battle." After spending a long time with the Lupus soldiers who endured hardship, Tang Yi slowly changed his view of them. The Lupus soldiers were weak and did not have any battle tactics to speak of, but they endured hardship, causing Tang Yi to be moved. Tang Yi was expressionless. Very few people knew that this name that did not have any killing intent actually had a profound meaning. This move was the battle tactic that Zhang Zheng was most familiar with, and the number of enemies that fell under this move was uncountable. Crane, who was at the back, saw Ling Su suddenly increase his speed, and revealed a helpless look. That fellow had always been like that. The lupus army that lived in the desert under the harsh environment made them tenacious like the plants in the desert. Even when he was in Orion constellation, he had never seen a military leader with such a powerful control aura. A hole opened up in the circular formation, and the lupus army that was still charging forward rushed in. Chapter 332. Guang Wu stabilized his body and floated down to the ground. Although jumping into the air could use the force of falling, this was a way to bully the weak. It was not a good way to face a strong opponent. When one was in midair, there was no place for one to borrow strength from. When experts exchanged blows, it was usually a very small change in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint. One of the 10 equatorial palace halls, Canis Minor constellation? Crane was surprised and thought, I wonder who Teacher Bien and you are? Guang Wu felt an astonishing power coming from the blade, causing his palm to heat up, causing the blade to almost fly out of his hands. He groaned, holding onto the blade's hilt tightly. He borrowed the force to suddenly increase his height. It is said that I am too young and do not have any impression. Crane shook his head. Sir, this year, he stammered. Could it be that Sagittarius Empress and Crane have some sort of relationship? An incomparably dazzling silver light exploded in front of him like a galaxy hanging upside down in the sky. Zhou Xian was so scared that tears almost flowed out of his eyes. Damn it, if Teacher knew that he had almost killed Crane, who had starved for 5 days. Zhou Xian stared blankly at Crane's harmless smile, then quivered and reacted, yes. And that's right, wine. Ling Su didn't have it easy either. His opponent's attack in midair had taken advantage of the momentum of the fall, which gave him quite a bit of an advantage. The silver light exploded once more. The cold blade brushed past his throat, causing Ling Su's hair to stand on end. Ling Su's orange pupils had already been aroused by Guang Wu's blade. The fighting intent in his chest was boiling. He could not be bothered to talk nonsense and snorted, I'll kill. He almost cried in his heart. Zhou Xian was so scared that his heart was in pain. He shook his head with all his might. No. Absolutely not. This foolish brother just happened to pass by. Aha, a coincidence. Little Crane doesn't like this old man? Should I go and chop him up? His heart calmed down. No matter how agile the mechanical beasts were, they could not compare to martial artists. Zhou Xian's heart jumped and immediately asked, could it be that Crane knows my master? This what-ifs was also very scary. Crane tilted his head and thought, when I was 3. Before he finished speaking, Flamingo was like an arrow leaving the bow, rushing towards Guang Wu. A nobody. He spoke incoherently for a while, then slowly calmed down. Yes, I didn't do anything. Without hesitation, he threw his father-in-law and brother-in-law to the back of his head, and with a face full of smiles, he took out a long wooden table from the silver bottle, and then took out a pile of wine and carefully filled Crane's cup. The spear tip rapidly enlarged in Guang Wu's eyes. Zhou Xian sized up Crane, his eyes revealing a look of admiration. Even though the clothes of the black-robed young man before him were tattered, his demeanor and manners were impeccable. With a single look, it was clear that he was a disciple of a prestigious clan. Guang Wu was enraged. He clenched his teeth. Brat, you are dead. I'm going to chop you into pieces today. If he knew that he would meet Crane, he would not have stepped into Lupus constellation even if he was beaten to death. Crane interrupted him and looked innocently at Zhou Xian. Brother Zhou, do you have anything to eat? Their teacher had a deep relationship with the Empress. Their teacher had reminded them more than once that if they encountered any trouble with the Empress subordinates, they must lend them a helping hand. Teacher Bien is my teacher. Zhou Xian said calmly. The other party's demeanor and temperament made him feel extremely comfortable. Crane replied honestly, I heard that when I was young Teacher Bien hugged me before, but I do not have any recollection of it. Crane coughed lightly. Such a beautiful scenery and with brave warriors fighting, how can there be no wine? Zhou Xian was dumbstruck. Guang Wu's body suddenly froze, his face suddenly flushed red, his originally stiff body suddenly leapt up. The blood blade in his hand was as light as paper, straight for Ling Su's throat. Guang Wu's battle experience was plentiful, The opponent's strength had just dissipated and had not yet recovered. It was the best opportunity. Everyone knew this logic, but very few people were able to make use of it. Because in such a head-on clash, both parties were in the same situation. But Guang Wu was one of the few martial artists who could make use of such an opportunity, because he had a secret technique of the reverse luck mental cultivation technique. Guang Wu was startled by Ling Su's "I'll kill," and was immediately angered to the point that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. The asshole's meaning, was he implying that he was a nameless person? Guang Wu had been famous for 30 years, had been to countless constellations, had been through hundreds of battles, and had formed rivers of blood. Some people were afraid of him, some wanted to curry favor with him, some wanted to kill him, but no one had ever treated him as a nameless person. But no matter how fast the chopsticks were, Crane still maintained his elegance. He seemed to have noticed Zhou Xian's awkward expression and explained, "I am truly sorry, this little brother has not eaten for 5 days." Zhou Xian felt his body heating up. Teacher was someone who did not like to interact with children. How could he hug a child? Could it be that he was purposely lying to me? But he did not dare confirm. What if it was true? In that short period of time he was drenched in sweat. Guang Wu, who was caught off guard, only felt the silver light in front of him, but he was a ruthless person. Not only did he not feel any fear, instead he became even more ferocious. He hissed, and the blood aura from his blade became even more intense. The reverse luck could only be maintained to a very small extent, thus the power produced was also very small, but to the current situation it was enough. Ling Su's face changed, he groaned and retreated frantically. If teacher knew that he was going to chop the nephew of the Sagittarius Empress that he had personally hugged, alright, this kind of assumption would cause him to lose the courage to continue living. Before he finished speaking, Flamingo suddenly stomped heavily on the ground, and its speed suddenly increased. "Oh, I am 18 years old this year." Guang Wu's blade that he was determined to kill missed, causing him to be surprised, but he was extremely vigilant. After missing, he did not hesitate to increase the distance. The blood aura on his face disappeared and he returned to normal. He had just taken it out from the silver Aquarius cabinet and placed it on the table. When Crane threw it in front of him, the energy was like a blade. In the blink of an eye, all of the cooked food became neat and tidy. Crane's expression was focused as he poured the sauce on the food, then he extended his chopsticks in satisfaction. It was his first time encountering such a situation and he did not know what to do. Crane's expression became weird. Crane and Zhou Xian were in a different situation. "That's what I said." Crane had a harmless smile on his face. "Luckily I met Brother Zhou, if not I would have to starve. Brother Zhou saved this little brother from the fire and water." Zhou Xian was surprised. He had heard of Heavenly Crane constellation before. It was an extremely small constellation, and was considered a weak constellation in the southern sky's 42 constellations. How could it nurture such an outstanding talent? The intense collision would cause the originally high-speed true power to suddenly stop, and that was the reason for the stiffness. But Guang Wu's reverse mental cultivation technique was the exact opposite. Since he could not advance, then he would retreat. Zhou Xian had the heart to kill himself. He should have thought of it. If not, why would the Empress set such a restriction for no reason? 15 years ago, teacher had only gone out once, and that was to participate in Sagittarius constellation's Empress Hou Tian's birthday. Zhou Xian heaved a sigh of relief and immediately said, "To be able to meet little brother, it is my fortune." That terrifying result caused Zhou Xian's martial spirit to tremble. The blade in his hand swung upwards. "Food. I am Crane from Heavenly Crane constellation. Such a beautiful scenery. To be able to meet such a hero like Crane, I have no regrets. Or did I underestimate the age?" The silver and red light auras interweaved, causing countless broken auras to burst out. It was a beautiful sight. He squinted his eyes, looking at Ling Su, who was on the sand dune. He snorted, "Brat, state your name." This old man does not kill nameless people. He and Flamingo were like a ball that was struck by a heavy hammer, flying headfirst into the sand dune. Under the powerful impact, half of the sand dune immediately exploded, raising up a ring-shaped sand screen that rushed into the sky. Suddenly, he seemed to have realized something. "Brother Zhou and this old man, you are not together, right?" Zhou Xian's hand that was holding the wine cup froze in mid-air. He did not feel so good. But Crane's gaze was filled with anticipation and yearning. Zhou Xian forced a smile. It is this foolish brother's negligence. How can we not have food to go with the wine? And there's some cooked food. Zhou Xian raised his wine cup, his mind already preparing to say something. Oh, she's my aunt. Crane admitted honestly. Guangwu was so angry that he laughed and roared, die. Zhou Xian calmed down. That was 15 years ago. Wait a minute, 15 years ago. It was as if Zhou Xian was struck by lightning. A terrifying guess popped out from his mind. I will have to trouble Brother Yong. Crane's face was filled with gratitude and then said, we can enjoy ourselves here and watch the battle. It is so interesting. His blade looked extremely slow. The blade body seemed to weigh thousands of kilograms, but the blade body was enveloped in a dense blood aura that seemed to have materialized. The blood aura swallowed and spat, like a demonic squirming fresh blood. The choking smell of blood assaulted his nose. He wiped his perspiration and asked, I wonder when it will be? Zhou Xian's entire body was drenched in perspiration. Every muscle on his body was stiff. It was because he was scared. Ling Su, who was sprinting, lowered his body, bringing forth a whistling gale, and a cold word floated out, idiot. In that moment Zhou Xian was in a daze. There was actually such a dazzling spear aura in the world. He was starting to panic. If this matter were to spread to his teacher's ears, he would be locked up deep in the mountains for 10 years. When he saw the flamingo beneath Tang Tian, he immediately understood. The reason why Tang Tian was able to dodge was because of the mechanical beast beneath him. Zhou Xian, who was still in a state of shock, his face was pale white. He said with a fawning look, don't be anxious, little brother, I still have a lot of raw food. I will roast it for you. The young man with the silver spear in front of him made him somewhat fearful. Inside the fiery red flames, the white robe with golden threads fluttered, the silver hair fluttering. Next time you won't be so lucky. Guangwu laughed, not concealing his killing intent. Crane was too hungry. He had been hungry for 5 days. He had struggled in the Sand Sound Valley, met with danger countless of times, and had long exhausted his rations. That was also why Guangwu liked to meet force with force. Without saying a word, Zhou Xian sold Guangwu out. But his face did not reveal any contempt and politely replied, I am Zhou Xian from Canis Minor Constellation. Zhou Xian exclaimed, my teacher hugged you before? Bang. The two of them groaned at the same time. Chapter 333. Housefly cow, they are not putting you in their eyes. Sima Xiangshan suddenly said, go. Show them what we're made of. Almost at the same time, everyone started moving. There were many ways for a military leader to control the aura, but they all had their own traces. It was just that the brilliant military leaders would hide their traces. Hiding was just hiding. The military leader was the core of the army's control aura, and he was the starting point of all battles. The simple and crude heavy armors in his field of vision rapidly closed in, causing Bing's state of mind to be pulled away. Facing the incoming blade auras and spear tips, he actually did not dodge, allowing them to hit his body. Bang! Everyone took the chance to close the distance between them. And once the efficiency of the opponent's control aura decreased, the traces of the main general would be exposed. But the cold mist swept past the blade auras and spear auras, as though they were dyed with a layer of frost. After flying out for a short distance, they melted like ice. Lightweight mechanical weapons? Ding ding ding. A silver sword suddenly appeared on his right. Lightly trembling, the sword aura burst forth, receiving the few spear auras, every sword releasing cold chi. That's right, this type of military leader hated chaotic situations the most. With every chaotic region, the difficulty of his secret control would increase greatly. As long as there were a few chaotic regions, he would be distracted, and the opponent's control aura's efficiency would decrease greatly. It was dead silent. No one bothered about him. He had the seniority. Huang Fuhong lowered both of his palms and suddenly pulled. That's right. That's it. The situation of Bodhisattva constellation was calm. The heavy armor army's most common task was to exterminate bandits, and Huang Fuhong was very experienced in dealing with such a group of 10 people. But in these 2 waves of attacks, Bing had not found any traces of the opponent. 2 shields formed a wall, appearing in front of him, and 3 spears pierced out from the gaps of the shields. Seeing the opponent rushing towards the army in a mess, without any formation, a cold light flashed past Huang Fuhong's eyes. The 3 martial artists in front of a Maori all retreated 5 to 6 steps before stopping, but the strange thing was, they were like wooden puppets, not moving at all. Ka, the armor on the three of them revealed spiderweb cracks, blood trickling down, dyeing the cracks red. The other party's formation was very strict. It could be seen that they were well-trained and had rich combat experience. Huang Fuhong then led the heavy armor army and won a few battles, causing the heavy armor army's name to shake the entire northern sky. Huang Fuhong stared at the people in front of him. His face was covered with frost and it was hard to tell whether he was happy or angry. The heavy armor army belonged to the northern sky's bovine constellation. He had been in the army for 40 years and had climbed from a small soldier to his current position. He grinned and charged straight into the array. He raised his blade and walked at the front with killing intent, and with a swoosh he pointed at the army with his blade. Don't even think about getting lucky. The lively martial man will definitely kill all of you. The sword aura that looked like shattered ice mist suddenly exploded, and an extremely cold wave of chi spread out in all directions. As long as they found the commander, victory would be within reach. The other side's general was not strong, but this was their strength. He suddenly took a step forward, twisting his waist and brandishing his saber. Amauri's expression was ferocious, and all the muscles on his body bulged. All the martial artists in front of Amauri were overwhelmed with shock, and all raised their weapons to protect their chests. Bing's understanding of mechanical weapons was unparalleled, and with one look he understood the opponent's thoughts. The rest understood and scattered in all directions. He did not move, his expression calm. The soldiers knew what to do. Amauri, you have great strength, the most important arrowhead position has to belong to you. Young man, I'm relying on you. Compared to ordinary mechanical weapons, it was much lighter and could provide a decent defense. It could be seen that the opponent's mechanical engineer had some ideas, but his attainments in mechanical techniques were lacking compared to Sai Lei. But Master somehow managed to convince Yijio and insisted on joining in. The heavy armor army had cost a lot, but in his eyes, it was still far from being outstanding. Later on, Master was already unwilling to invest in the army. Bovine constellation was also very peaceful, and the situation of the army was not as optimistic as others thought. Bing's heart jumped. He immediately understood the opponent's intention and anxiously said, "Rush into the crowd. I can find the opponent's general." Until Huang Fuhong took over, he found a mechanical engineer to solve all the small problems, and then formulated special tactics for them, and the heavy armor army started to shine with vitality. Pay attention to any abnormal fellows, we need to find the opponent's general. He is hiding in the crowd, as long as we can find him we will win. Bing sized up the army in front of him. It was the strongest army he had ever seen. The opponent's formation was strict. 500 men stood solemnly without any noise. But seeing that there were only 5 of them, Huang Fuhong calmed down. Suddenly Bing's voice drilled into his ears. The frantic yellow blade aura was like a brush painting. Even Amauri's tall and sturdy figure was enveloped in the blade aura. Such a strong physique, such a ferocious person. Just at that moment, countless spear auras and blade auras rained down, shooting towards them from all directions. Bing did not use his eyes, he was carefully observing the trajectory of the blade and spear auras. Everyone scatter and attack. He suddenly felt as though he was in the battlefield 10,000 years ago. Sky Tiger's wings spread out. In the midst of flying, its gigantic body arched up. Bing instinctively controlled Sky Tiger, only to see the martial artists at the front of the formation shrinking inwards. Amauri was getting excited from killing, and directly tore off the clothes on his upper body. Only then did everyone see his body as though it was cast from copper with a layer of metallic luster. Where exactly is that fellow? Bing guided patiently as though he was trying to abduct a child. Southern Cross Army, charge. Let me do it. Han Bingning's sword auras were extremely unique, as though countless of tiny ice grains were formed into a mist. After absorbing the heart of the South Pole, every move she made was filled with cold chi, and her sword technique was coincidentally glacier fields, which could unleash the coldness in her body to the maximum. And as her understanding of cold deepened, her understanding of glacier fields also deepened. A steel ball with a low whistling sound smashed onto a few spear auras, and the spear auras immediately crumbled. The reason why he was against it was because the opponent had a powerful spirit military leader. The breathtaking control aura caused Huang Fuhong to suck in a breath of cold air. Huang Fuhong had always been confident in himself, but seeing the terrifying control aura, he knew that he would never be able to do it. The heavy armor army against the spirit military leader, Huang Fuhong, did not have any confidence. Amauri's eyes immediately became bloodshot. He howled out, taking big strides and rushing towards the army in front of him. Suddenly, the martial artists around Amauri retreated like a tide, forming an empty space. Power. His strength was 3 times stronger than before. The power of his blood meridians, the 50% completion rate of the ancient bear race blood meridians, caused his strength to soar. He was originally born with divine strength, and with his strength increased by 3 times, it was extremely terrifying. The wild earth blade in his hands was extremely powerful. In truth, he did not approve of the operation. He could faintly feel that the water was very deep. The heavy armor army had spent countless of his efforts to create it, and even though it was ranked in the 19 continents, he knew his own limits. Amauri was about to rush forward when 7 or 8 spear auras like spirits flew straight for his chest and ribs. Bronze skin, iron bones. The 2 martial artists only felt a sharp pain in their wrists. The extremely savage power transmitted over, as though they were struck by a charging star spirit beast, and their bodies immediately flew out. The martial artists behind the 2 of them were caught off guard, and in a moment 4 or 5 of them were knocked down. Bing did not have much hope for Amauri's intelligence, but since Amauri was most proficient in destruction, then let him do it. No matter how orderly the formation was, to be struck by such an unreasonable fellow, there would always be flaws. A brilliant fellow. Bing had not found any traces of the opponent's general. Many generals liked to hide themselves in the troops, especially those military generals who were not strong enough to avoid being targeted by the strong martial artists of the enemy. Mixing themselves in the crowd was a good idea. He muttered softly, his eyes flashing with a cold light. In a moment, a trap was formed without any blind spots. Amauri's face revealed an excited look. Ping ping ping, he patted his chest loudly. Uncle, as expected, your foresight is good. Relax. This lively martial man will definitely kill them till their blood flows like a river. Amauri was calm and fearless. He did not care about any changes. He was like a wild beast, rushing straight into the formation. Bing's voice came out from Sky Tiger. Sky Tiger was like a blue lightning, rushing towards the opponent's troops. But those blade auras and spear auras that could penetrate through steel only left white scars on Amauri's body. Amauri was not injured at all and took the chance to kill 2 people. Among the northern sky's 19 continents, Boötes constellation was not considered a strong constellation. The only thing they could bring out was the expensive heavy armor army. This army originated from the master, who was passionate about mechanical techniques, and the master was full of enthusiasm and ambition to build a mechanical army. But after that, the miserable state of the army caused the master to quickly lose interest. Their fighting strength was low, they had all sorts of problems, it was a mess. The cold voice carried a trace of coldness. Han Bingning flicked his wrist. The silver dragon sword made a circle, and a circular sword aura exploded out. Huang Fuhong's eyes constricted. The opponent's ferocity had exceeded his expectations. Upon meeting them, he had already lost a few people. Other than Crane and Yong Xianzhong's rhythm that was filled with strangeness, the other battles were extremely intense. Amauri's spirit was roused. He bellowed, "Yeah, watch my blade." Amauri bellowed. The blade in his hand that was enveloped in a yellow aura suddenly swung upwards. The 3 spears were struck by a heavy hammer flying up high, and Amauri took the chance to smash into the 2 shields in front of him. The 3 of them were no longer breathing. Bing's mind moved quickly. What kind of situation did these military generals hate the most? All of them were dressed in heavy armor, which was extremely unique. To describe it as armor, it was much thicker than normal armor and had many supporting mechanisms. It looked like a simple and crude mechanical weapon, but it was much lighter than a mechanical weapon. He almost blurted out, "Chaos." Sima Xiangshan followed behind everyone like a ghost. Amauri and Han Bingning's display of power made him extremely surprised. Chapter 334. Ling Su is so strong. An angry roar came out from above. Jing Hao, who had lost control of his body, clenched his teeth and raised the sword in his hand. Tang Tian, who was trembling, instinctively used his last bit of strength to hold on to the Saint Sword Ocean prison, as though it was his life-saving straw. Yi Xiaogu floated in the air, his face filled with anger. Bing's words resonated in his mind, and Tang Tian's eyes lost focus. Almost instinctively, Tang Tian crossed his swords. Sky Tiger, who was advancing at high speed, suddenly became a blur, transforming into a cross of green and red and plunged into the enemy. Tang Tian clenched his teeth, his face sinister. His pupils suddenly constricted. Tang Tian's words stopped. He resolutely used the King Peacock Eye's ice blue heart and the red eye's void dark flames to collide. The incomparably strong power stimulated his body. His Dantian pool became a blue and black fire pool. One blue and one black flames spewed out from the Dantian pool and drilled into his meridians. Suicide room. An unprecedented panic and despair surged in his mind. His face was as white as paper, his body trembling. Hey, you desire victory so much. You're not even afraid of death? Dang. Sky Tiger's body was completely extended, like a perfectly straight spear. The Tang Tian in front of him was similarly covered in injuries, similarly gasping for breath, similarly wielding the Saint Sword Ocean Prison. The air reverberated with the echo. A terrifying power surged out from the sword body. Jing Hao's body that was flying backwards twisted in the air, and was fiercely smashed into the ground. He suddenly raised the iron sword in his hand that was covered in scars, and aimed at the location where Jing Hao was falling and slashed down. The silver light below grew higher and higher, the air hummed, and a figure enveloped in silver light appeared in Yi Zhaoji's eyes. Everyone agreed to become strong together. Wait a minute. Suddenly, the corners of his mouth curled up into a strange, cold smile. Crane is also very powerful. Everyone agreed to go to Southern Cross Constellation together. The other soldiers' eyes were red, close combat type martial artists, all fought to be the first to pounce forward. And all the long-range martial artists, completely disregarding the consumption of true power, attacked Sky Tiger like rain. Die, 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 die. No matter what. Everyone is so nice. Everyone is so nice. We promised. We promised. While he was shocked, his reaction was also extremely fast. How helpless. It's not in my interest for you to die. Since that's the case, then come. Tang Tian was full of confidence at the beginning, but now he was at a loss. He tried everything he could think of, but no matter what he thought of, the other party could think of it too. Bing, who was piloting Sky Tiger. The scenery on both sides of his field of vision was pulled into countless multicolored threads. Sky Tiger's speed had already reached its maximum. The wings on its back flapped rapidly as it swept through the air. The sand curtain rose hundreds of feet high, and its momentum was extremely terrifying. What am I thinking? Why would he use the void dark flames and ice blue heart? Not others. Other than the fact that the two are polar opposites, there must be a deeper reason. If you miss this battle, Ling Su will die, Crane will die, Amauri will die, Han Bingning will die, Liangqiu will die, Sima Xiangshan will die, Homa Air will die, the entire Lupus tribe will be flattened, no one will survive, everyone will die. Bing's poker face did not change, he was as calm as usual. Sky Tiger, who was half bent over, suddenly opened up his arms like wings. Without any light aura, the sand dune on the ground suddenly exploded. You only have this bit of strength? Yi Zhaoji's face was sinister. He bellowed, I have waited for you for so long, and you only have this bit of strength? You disappoint me. Useless trash, you deserve to die. The armors of the heavy armor army were like paper, they were sliced into pieces, broken limbs and fresh blood splattered everywhere. Bang! Tang Tian's body suddenly erupted with a dazzling light aura. The light aura was so intense that even the space in the suicide room was trembling. All trash deserved to die. Suddenly, a silver light aura lit up the entire sky of sand, the indistinct sound of a sword lingering in the air. Something seemed to blossom in his eyes. Ping! Tang Tian, opposite him, looked at him in a daze. Tang Tian felt as though he was struck by lightning, his mind was blank, his limbs ice cold. According to Bing's estimation, he had at most 18 days. The iron sword sliced through the air, bringing with it a low whistling sound that caused people's scalps to go numb. The wind was like a song, the war flag was waving, the smoke was everywhere. 90 days. The air around Yi Zhaogu was trembling intensely. He felt as though there was something in his mind. The blue and black cross suddenly burst open. Yi Zhaogu was like a madman, the iron sword in his hand was extremely heavy but extremely fast. Tang Tian could no longer remember how many times he had fought with him. Every battle they were evenly matched, every battle was like a swamp, difficult to the point of suffocation. You are truly similar to me, but you do not have a partner who can die for them. Tang Tian felt as though he was pulled into a dark void and immediately lost consciousness. It was not easy for everyone to come this far. It was not easy. Everyone was so good, so trustworthy, everyone was risking their lives, everyone was fighting because of him, they were all fighting all for him. The surrounding darkness retreated like a tide. 90 days inside was equivalent to 18 days outside. Everyone will die. No. The martial artists at the front raised their shields, layers upon layers of defense. In the blink of an eye, the light aura converged at an astonishing speed, transforming into a light shield wall. Tang Tian said to himself, while using his left hand to take out the safe and sound sword, his right hand holding onto the Saint Sword Ocean Prison, his gaze staring intently at Tang Tian. Tang Tian felt his imposing manner and revealed a cautious expression. And Tang Yi Homa air. I have always been unable to find a reason to defeat you, but now I have found it. Tang Tian's entire body was covered in injuries. Gasping for breath, he held on to the Saint Sword Ocean Prison. Yi Zhaogu was not surprised but happy. His face became even more sinister. He laughed recklessly. Ha! Jing Hao, let me see your true abilities. Where are your unique martial techniques? I have been waiting impatiently for a long time. Tang Tian used all of his strength, wanting to make himself stronger. His improvement was astonishing. He even found a way to control the void dark flames, and summon the Saint Sword Ocean Prison. No, I don't want everyone to die, no, definitely not. And Bing, he always has so many ideas, he is a master tactician. Jing Hao and Yi Zhaoji's battle was extremely intense. The two of them were like two shadows, clashing in the air and separating, but every time they clashed, it would produce an astonishing ripple in the air. The blade-like air currents would engulf everything. CSISI. Did he just take a nap? His eyes were filled with blood veins. He licked his lips. It was crazy and cold. Jing Hao, I will not kill you. I will slaughter this planet cleanly. You must be angry, be angry. Be angry. Hatred will let you be reborn. That way you will be strong enough to make me excited. We agreed. Bang. Just as the green Red Cross scythe lit up, Huang Fuhong's face changed. The blue mechanical weapon was his focus. The heavy armor army was half a mechanical army, and as the commander, Huang Fuhong's understanding of mechanical techniques far exceeded that of ordinary martial artists, and with one look he could tell that the blue mechanical weapon was not ordinary. Sky Tiger was surrounded. The enraged Yi Zhaogu waved his sword, and the man and the sword suddenly disappeared in the air. Everyone will die. Everyone will die. Then come. 18 days. How can I win? Why? Buzz. But with the same willpower and conviction, Tang Tian, his improvement was equally astonishing. Tang Tian actually summoned the Saint Sword Ocean Prison. The orderly formation was plowed with a deep bloody scar. Green Red Cross scythe. Until now he had not thought of how to win. He tried all sorts of methods such as successfully activating the red eyes, and summoning the Saint Sword Ocean Prison. But the opponent actually activated the red eyes and also summoned the Saint Sword Ocean Prison. We agreed to fight side by side. Jing Hao, is that all you have? Huang Fuhong's eyes were bloodshot. All of the soldiers had followed him for a long time, and in the blink of an eye, more than 10 of them had fallen. After so many battles, the heavy armor army had never suffered such heavy losses. Tang Tian raised his head, he fiercely wiped his eyes and stopped crying. But when the green Red Cross scythe appeared, it shocked him. Jing Hao, who was enveloped in the silver light, had blood at the corner of his mouth, but his expression was solemn and he raised the sword in his hand. And Amauri in the rest. The sand dune below exploded. Tang Tian retreated his right leg, lowering his waist into a horse stance, his body slightly crouching. Tang Tian's body trembled, his entire body was suddenly bone-piercing cold, he quivered and suddenly woke up. It was so clear and crisp like glass breaking. The light shield wall exploded into pieces, countless of fine broken auras flew out like snowflakes. The green Red Cross scythe fiercely struck the light shield wall. The friction in the air sounded out. The intense temperature caused Sky Tiger's claws to become red, as though they were just taken out from a furnace. The red and high temperature quickly spread along Sky Tiger's arms. Sacrificing your life for others, such a foolish thought. This world is selfish, benefits are the most important, to die for them what can you gain? Old Man Fei's words. Tang Tian remembered them in his heart. Jing Hao's pupils constricted, he subconsciously used his sword to block in front of his chest. Although Ling Su had an explosive temper, but whenever there was a battle he would always be the first to rush up. Crane was always easy to talk to, willing to do anything, and everyone's trivial matters were all settled by him. Although Uncle Bing liked to brag, but he had many methods. Amauri was slightly stupid and easy to trick. Han Bingning did not like to talk, but he was a kind person. Liang Qiu was the peacemaker and was steady, so he would be at ease handing everything over to him. Sima Xiangshan made himself sound weird, but in fact his mouth was a little venomous. The safe and sound sword in his left hand quietly released a blue ice flame, while the ocean prison in his right hand released a black flame. And I have it. Tang Tian raised his head to look at the sky. It displayed he had already been here for 90 days. Tang Tian muttered to himself, but it was a cold and unfamiliar voice. The green-red cross fiercely pierced into the group. But why am I so sad? A group of shadows struck onto the sword, causing Jing Hao to feel a sweetness in his throat. Like a rubber ball that was struck by a wooden pole, he flew out. His thoughts flew, his fighting intent blazing. No, Bing must be exaggerating. Tang Tian could not hold it in anymore. Tears flowed out of his eyes and he bawled out loud. Chapter 335. Not good. In the enemy's formation, Tang Yi rode his horse slowly as though there was no one around him, but none of the surrounding martial artists dared to move forward, and dodged to the sides like a tide. Her. The sword trembled violently at an astonishing frequency, and countless dense air ripples appeared around the sword. A crack the size of a fingernail cracked on the sword, and as soon as it left the sword, it shattered into a puff of fine dust. Tang Yi borrowed the power of the blade to return to his horse's back. His face was gloomy, but he raised his blade and shouted, "Fight! 07 Army Camp. The path I am walking will forever be my own path." One after another, silver light regiments the size of rice grains emerged from the silver light around Jing Hao's body and slowly rose into the air. The silver auras were like stars floating above Jing Hao's head. Bang! It's as fast as light. Jing Hao's last thought, his eyes lost focus. Yaya was so angry that he jumped up and down, but his eyes suddenly lit up. He jumped onto the bronze goat's back and pulled the bronze tortoise and squirrel up. The bronze goat sprinted forward. The mechanical beasts that were also charging forward followed suit. In the blink of an eye, an army of mechanical beasts marched forward along the passageway. If I can't even take down a bunch of scoundrels, wouldn't I be letting down my name of being unique? The sword in his hand gently pierced forward. The suicide room suddenly exploded, causing dust to fill the sky, and a figure wielding a sword with both hands slowly walked out from the dust. He was like a wooden stake falling head first onto the sand dune. The surging silver light spewed out from the tip of the sword straight into the sky. Jing Hao held his sword with both hands. Another idiot that fell for it. I actually did not dodge. With my speed, how can I not dodge? He stopped laughing and looked at Jing Hao with bright eyes. Dong dong dong. Formation. Quickly formation. Tang Yi raised the Zambato in his hand. The pitch-black Zambato was like a war flag, the most eye-catching symbol of the battlefield. The Lupus soldiers quickly gathered behind Tang Yi, all of them trembling with excitement, their fighting intent boiling. The sword slashed down. Without thinking, he anxiously rolled backwards. In his mind there was only one thought. Faster. Hurry up. Hurry up. Everyone, we must hold on. A spot of silver light blossomed from the tip of Jing Hao's sword, and a perfectly straight silver light beam shot out. Yi Zhaoji's pupils suddenly widened. A strong sense of danger arose in his heart. Huff, huff. The wounds on his body healed at an astonishing speed. When he walked in front of Jing Hao, his body was as good as new, but his face looked a little pale. The silver light beam exploded into pieces. Jing Hao let out a muffled groan and quickly retreated. Ping ping ping. Every step was as heavy as 1,000 caddies. The sand dune beneath his feet exploded, sending sand flying everywhere. A silver beam that was several times thicker than before shot out from the tip of the sword. Zhang Zheng's expression froze. This is Yi Zhaogu, whose wound had been torn open, was extremely excited. Halfway through his flight, he forcefully turned around and swung the iron sword in his hand once again. Zhang Zheng's gaze was fixed on Tang Yi, who was leaping high up in the air. Suddenly, his face revealed a trace of pride. He knew that he was not strong enough and could easily become the main target of the enemy, so he specially designed a few traps. Zhang Zheng could not contain the joy on his face. This was a tried and tested trick. The corner of Jing Hao's mouth that was overflowing with blood, gently raised. Jing Hao, you really did not make me wait in vain. Jing Hao's mouth was bleeding, his clothes were torn, and he shouted angrily, "Sword light screen. No matter how strong he is only him. No matter how weak I am still me. Too scary." The two forces were both extremely strong. When they collided with each other, the power that was stirred up was extremely shocking. Yi Xiaogu, who was closer, did not have time to dodge. His entire body was directly sent flying by the wave of air and flew tens of feet away. Yaya, who was in the distance, stopped. It waved its little hands and squeaked at Tang Tian's back. But how could Tang Tian care about it? He did not dare to stop and ran with all his might. Jing Hao, who was enveloped in the silver aura, had a solemn expression. Facing the crazy Yi Xiaogu, he was not the least bit afraid. He was not a person who liked to talk big, nor was he a person who liked to speak his mind. But he would quietly sharpen his sword techniques, and he would quietly persevere in his beliefs. His body suddenly exploded with countless of blood flowers. The 10 strikes of the invisible sword qi had shaken up his entire body to over 100 small wounds. Just that this sword Jing Hao had used all his strength. All the muscles in his body were as taut as steel and no blood flowed out. Now that he had loosened his strength, the wounds immediately exploded with blood. Every time the sword light and the invisible sword qi clashed, Jing Hao's hands that were holding the sword would tremble. His eyes were wide open in anger. Using all his strength, he forcefully slashed down. The invisible sword qi once again clashed with Jing Hao's sword light screen. Impossible. Tang Tian clenched his teeth. His heart was burning with anxiety. Without caring about anything else, he activated the true power in his body, leaping around the bronze forest. All of the Lupus soldiers were shocked by Tang Yi's berserk blade. They felt their blood boiling as though there was something in their chest that they had to spit out. They could not help but raise up the curved blades in their hands and shouted, "Fight!" Even in the past, when he faced Yi Xiaogu, he had never felt fear or respect. He was like a boulder in the mountains, silent, but he had his own world. The shout was like thunder and the sound reverberated. On the horse's back, Tang Yi's body was perfectly straight. His face was as calm as water as he looked at the enemies in front of him who were trying their best to form a formation. Chisel formation assault. Jing Hao gasped for breath, perspiration dripping down his body. His palms that were holding onto the sword were trembling uncontrollably. His mind was blank, all the true power in his body was sucked dry by the sword. He did not even have the strength to move a finger. Yi Xiaogu muttered to himself. The Swallowtail camp's faces changed. Did we win? On the goat's back, Yaya had his hands on his waist. His face was majestic and powerful as though he was in charge of the country. Break. He did not care at all. He was extremely excited and fiercely dived down. Bang. The 200 men shouted in unison, surging forward like a raging wave. He bent down and picked up the unconscious Jing Hao, his mouth revealing a crazy and cold smile. Faster. Hurry up. Hurry up. I want you to see how I kill them all. As expected of a unique martial technique, it was too exciting. Tang Tian's entire body was enveloped in a faint transparent flame. His eyes were ice cold and emotionless. Bang. The silver light pierced through his chest, leaving a thumb-sized hole. In Jing Hao's calm eyes, his heroism and pride surged. He raised the sword in his hand, and the silver light around his body suddenly flew out countless of fine silver threads, pouncing towards the sword in his hand. His speed was as fast as lightning. Even his afterimages were blurry like a gust of wind. I did not wait for nothing. The slashing light sword transformed into a vast silver light screen, enveloping Yi Xiaogu inside. The dazzling silver light in front of Jing Hao raised countless sand and dust, covering the sky. Kill. Yi Xiaogu opened his eyes wide, his face filled with disbelief. Zhang Zheng roared, "Kill!" He saw the passage not far away and without hesitation he rushed in. Just at that moment, suddenly, a dazzling light aura blossomed from the whirlpool. The light screen touched the ground. Sword light beam. Hundreds of light auras rose to the sky and converged above his head. In the blink of an eye, a whirlpool formed from hundreds of blade and spear auras was formed. The air was constantly being sliced and dismembered, causing a strong gust of wind to blow. Zhang Zheng only felt that his vision was filled with white. He could not see anything. He was overwhelmed with shock. The steel sword in Yi Zhaoji's hand could not withstand the pressure and broke in half. His body was also cut by the sharp air currents, causing him to be covered in wounds and blood flowed out. The sand and dust settled, and in front of Jing Hao, there was a straight and deep ravine that extended into the distance with no end in sight. Swoosh! Tang Tian disappeared. Yi Zhaoji's face changed. He instinctively dodged to the right, but the light was faster than he thought. Blood blossomed from his chest and the blood flew in the air as though time had slowed down. At the same time Jing Hao thrusted his sword out. In his calm and dignified eyes, there was a deep sense of pride. Ha ha ha. Perspiration flowed down his face and was flung behind him, but he did not bother to wipe it off. Everyone's scimitar lit up with light auras. If one were to look down from the sky, they would realize that all the light auras converged into one, enveloping the charging Lupus army like a sharp chisel. When the light auras dissipated, Zhang Zheng, whose face was covered in mud, looked at the 15 m wide crater in front of him. His face was ashen and his entire body trembled. Bang! Yi Zhaogu raised the steel sword that was covered in scars and raised it above his head. The silver aura above his head was like a magnet attracted to the sword in his hand, dragging out rays of bright silver auras, flying towards the sword in his hand. The light humming was extremely soft as countless of silver auras entered the sword body. Buzz! They roared in unison. The 200 Lupus army seemed to be pulled by an invisible thread and moved at the same time. Bang! Facing Yi Zhaogu, who was diving down, he slashed out. The silver light was much faster than Yi Zhaoji's formless sword qi, and when the formless sword qi flew out for a few meters, it was struck by the silver sword light. Pa pa pa! Tang Yi's momentum was extremely fast, and facing the sudden appearance of the vortex, he was unable to react in time. The flying mud hit his body. The force was extremely strong, causing him to tremble in pain. A stern look flashed past his eyes. His closed eyes suddenly opened wide, releasing a biting cold aura. He squeezed the horse's abdomen and bellowed, "Kill!" The sword in his hand was only left with the sword hilt. The surging power surged unceasingly in Tang Tian's body, the wind concealment steps unleashed to its maximum. A figure covered in blood struggled out of the several-kilometer-long trench. It was Yi Zhaogu. He looked extremely miserable, his entire body covered in blood and sand. The most shocking wound was from his left shoulder to the right side of his abdomen. It was as though his abdomen had been split open with blood flowing everywhere. Yi Zhaogu moved towards Jing Hao step by step. His face did not have any signs of pain, but instead had an indescribable joy. A pity. It's not enough, your hatred is not strong enough. That way you can become stronger, that way I can have an even stronger opponent. If he had his own goal, then he would achieve it. Words would always be useless. Borrowing the momentum of diving down, he raised the broken sword in his hand and in one breath he released 10 swords. Satisfying. Yi Zhaogu laughed out loud, blood spurting out from his chest, soaking his clothes, but he did not seem to feel it. His messy hair that was as hard as steel fluttered in the air, as though he had met with something extremely happy. Zhang Zheng's panicked voice came out from the enemy formation. The enemy formation continued to retreat, and once again widened the distance.